Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the school board and public hearing for the final budget and millage rates per our trim requirements for the September 20th school board meeting. I want to first, when I call this order, before we kind of get going here, I know there's a lot of people kind of freaked some of our staff members out. Looks like his leadership Manatee has started. And I was a 2018 red team, which is the best, of course. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. So we rided several times. But if you all would stand up, we want to embarrass you a little bit. If everybody in Leadership Manatee this year's class want to stand up, thank you guys very much. Appreciate you getting in a leadership role and jumping into Leadership Manatee. They do a great job. You'll learn a lot. I thought I knew a lot, and I did not. And so appreciate all you guys jumping into the class. Appreciate the chamber for doing that, and it's been a long time they've been doing that, and it's great. So anybody out there who has never done Leadership Manatee, I encourage it. So thanks for being here, though. And now some heart rates went down with staff members. All right, item number 2 is reading of the district vision. Ms. Messenger.
Yes, the school district of Manatee County will be an exemplary, student-focused school system that develops lifelong learners to be globally competitive. And for the invocation tonight, I'd like to welcome Dr. Linda Francis.
And if everybody will stand, we'll have the pledge following the invocation.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to give tonight's invocation. Let us pray. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh in this place. Melt us, mold us, shape us for the work that you have laid to our hands to do. Strengthen our hearts. Increase our compassion for the children and the families we work with. Help us not to get immersed in the legalism. Let us never forget that we are working with your creation. Give us an openness to ideas and opinions that are different from our own. Now, God, bless the work that is to be done in this house. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, so that moves us to item number 5 on our agenda tonight, approval of the agenda. We do have some agenda amendments. The chair has found good cause to amend the agenda to include all items listed under agenda amendments on the September 10th, 2024 agenda, updated September 9th, and posted to the district website, manateeschools.net.
So moved.
Do we have a motion
So moved.
I'll second.
and a second for the approval of the agenda? Any changes, board members? Seeing none? Let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the agenda. And that passes 5-0. Item number 6, approval of the minutes. Dr. Weissong.
Good afternoon, Chairman and board members. I recommend approval of the minutes from the August 6, 2024 school board meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any changes needed? Don't see any. Board members, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the board minutes from August 6, 2024. And that is approved 5-0. All right, move on to recognitions. Mr. Barber, come on down. And you've got the pleasure of introducing the Manatee Education Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Board Chair, board members, and Dr. Weissong. We have one recognition tonight, but it's a special one. It's great to have Mary Glass here, president of the Manatee Education Foundation. She's in her 18th year as president of the foundation. I always like to think of the foundation as like the best friend of the school district because they're when you need them, they're always there, and they're always supportive. And every time you spend time with them, you come away feeling better, not only about what they do, but about yourself as well. So really just thankful for everything you've done in
Thank you, Mike.
almost 2 decades. So
Yeah.
I'd like to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Yes, greetings, board members, Chairman Choate, Superintendent Weissong. It's really an honor to be here tonight. And with me are MEF board members. I'd like to point them out in the audience. I have Chair Brando Fetzik, Ross Hodges, give a little wave, Stu Henderson, Zach McClary, TJ Cornett, and also Linda Agresta. And then also on our board is Chairman Choate, Dr. Weissong, and Kevin Chapman. I also want to recognize briefly our office administrator, Alicia Watterson, events coordinator, Susan DeWitt, and welcoming the new director of educational programs, Jeremiah Bowman. So it is an exciting time for the Manatee Education Foundation. This past school year, the foundation funded the Manatee County School District a total grand sum,
Drum roll, please.
drum roll, $1,368,000. That is an amazing amount of money. It's an amazing amount of money for some very important programs. And I'm looking at Ms. Foreman, and she's a CPA. She knows that's a lot of money, and it really is. And we've given a lot of money over the years, but never to the total sum of that. And in your black folder you received from us, and on the, we'll be putting it up on the board, we're putting a pie chart so you can see how the funding was distributed. And the big priorities that were funded last year were teacher impact grants through the state matching grant program. So that was great because anytime there's a donation towards that program, it's matched by the state. Barancic Foundation Grant, which is the Manatee Unites at-risk students and families. Bishop Parker Foundation Grant to support arts transportation and supplies. The Excellence in Education, the Educator Support Persons of the Year. We all know about that event coming up in February. And SOAR 4, the Manatee Arts Education Council. Just those 6 programs that I just mentioned were over $710,000. So, you know, it's a big number that we are giving back to the schools. But we had an incredible opportunity to coordinate with the district and help implement Resiliency Florida, which is a statewide DOE project, through funding of $500,000 from the DOE consortium, $500,000 to generously support our students to persevere and become more resilient. And hopefully that will help towards, and they will sustain that program. The Manatee Education Foundation, again, was briefly founded in 1988, and continues to thrive 36 years later. It's important for our community to understand that the sole mission of the Manatee Education Foundation is to provide funding for innovative programs and enhanced educational opportunities for teachers and students of the school district of Manatee County beyond allocated state dollars. And we are very proud to continue to support our district through the many generous donations, along with the MEF board that's here tonight supporting us. We'd like to say thank you also to the community and the Manatee County School District for our continued partnership. And I just briefly want to ask, do you have any questions?
I have one question. And we had a discussion, this may be a workshop several weeks ago, and some discussion about teachers, and at the last board meeting, we had a teacher that came and
Yeah.
talked to the board about the funding that was given and what the programs they were doing. I think it was Harvey.
Right.
How does a teacher get the grant? What's the process
Yeah.
to go to the foundation
Excellent question.
and ask?
Yes, thank you, Chad, for asking that, Chairman Choate. It is September 30th is the deadline, but it's a very, very easy application at mefinfo.org. And they just go online. There's a $250 for supplies only. They don't even have to do an evaluation at the end with that one because it's supplies for the classrooms. $500 grants, and then a $1,000 grant. And they will have till September 30th, and the funds will be distributed in early November. So, I mean, it's really an easy thing, and a lot of the schools participate. We're surprised more don't, but we're here, and we tell the principals and tell the schools, but we still give over $150,000 away on that. So, but anyway, thank you for that.
And I have a question. Thank you so much for everything that you do for our district. It spans wide. I do know that. I mean, everyone knows who you are, so that's the good thing. If there's an organization that wanted to list a scholarship through your foundation, how could they do that?
Yes, just please send us your information to, again, send an email to me or to the website. We have a scholarship source where we update every year and add scholarships to it. So just go ahead and have whatever organization. I was just updating one today. So, and we have someone that does it full time because every year, as you know, the information changes. But yes, a scholarship source is available to them. So
That's wonderful.
all they have to do is send it to mefinfo.org or to me, mary.glass@manateeschools.net. So it's pretty easy.
Good deal.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to say thank you so very much. MEF is just so involved in everything. And the number astounded me. You know, I had no idea that it was that large, and been here for 4 years, and that's just incredible. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It's been a
so
pleasure
much.
working with you also. Thank you. That's it?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, MEF. All right, let's go ahead and move to item number 8, reports and presentations. First one on the list is the Palmasola Design and Development Update. Mr. Rinaldi, you want to introduce
I'll
who you got?
kick it off, yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chairman Choate, board members, Superintendent Wysong. Exciting time. We've got GMP number 1 coming before you in the consent agenda tonight. So that means we're getting in the final stages of design, and we're getting ready to break ground and at this point order long lead items and materials associated with the project. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to David Wilds, and he's going to go through the multiple phases that we have along with the construction and the design team. So David.
Good evening, and
Good evening.
thank you for the opportunity to present the project. With me tonight is also Ken Zucker and Colin Derrick of Fleischman Garcia Maslowski Architects, who's the AE on the project, and Josh Tomlinson and Connor Cummings with MENS General Contractors, who are our CM partners. As a team, we've got a very good project plan to move forward. So the project, I'm going to do a brief overview and then turn it over to them. But this is based on what was approved during the April 26th workshop. We've reduced the size, both the initial size and the ultimate core size of the project based on that meeting. The other unique thing about this project is we're going to have a phase construction project. Based on the current size of the school, we can consolidate the students into an existing portion of the school, and that will allow us to start construction on the east part of the campus, probably save us more than $500,000 in temporary facilities and portables. So this is the first step of that process, and we appreciate your support as we move forward. I'm going to turn it over to Ken for the design portion of the project.
Thank you. You don't get to watch.
Hey, no, nobody
them
gets
all.
a free ride. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. My colleague Colin and I, Ken Zucker, with Fleischman Garcia Maslowski. We are the architects of record for the project. We've been working together with the design with David and MENS together. in what's been a really interesting project. When we were selected, we knew that there were going to be some challenges here. Let me see. So, yep, good. All right. What we're looking at right now is the final building and final site layout. What we've done is we've got two existing buildings that we were working with here because of the budget issues we've run across. The kitchen itself, building 17, was built in 2007, 2008. After looking at it, it's new enough that we can work with the building and we could save some money. And we got building 18 was actually that was dictated to remain as part of the grant. So we have incorporated those two buildings into the concept where we have everything in this school will be single loaded corridor. There's no movement on the outside. So this falls in line with the new safety protocols that we are working with in today's society. Unfortunately, but this does keep everyone inside. The elevation of the front, really what I'm trying to get to is this. So this is the phase project, and this is where things can get a little bit complicated. The drawings are a little small to see, but we are going to run a construction fence around the cafeteria up and through between buildings 15 and 16 and then head north. Everything that's on the right-hand side of that line will be demolished as part of this original first phase. All the students will be relocated into that west part of the site, and there will be a fence that will divide those two through the entire 2 years of construction. That basically sets us up for this initial first phase for the demolition. In the second phase, we'll be constructing the new building while we're running the campus off to the left-hand side. You can see the existing buildings now, that all of those buildings will be occupied during construction. While they're running school and learning what they're supposed to be learning, right next to them will be a brand new one-story school that will be constructed encapsulating building 18 and building 17. We will be tearing down the existing dining and building a brand new dining room on the west side of that. So the kitchen will remain, the existing dining will come down. That building was built back when I had black hair. And we just can't keep that one. So when this is all said and done, okay, this is the interim part here. At this point, all of the students, when they come back for school, the 2025, 26, they will be moved into the brand new school, and all of the existing buildings will be now capped and killed, and then they'll be demolished. And in the final interim, what we get is a brand new one-story school. You see the area that's hatched off up at the north quadrant up there? That's planned for a future 4-classroom addition. So that is built into the final design. And then we have the new sidewalks, and we have basically 2 play fields, and one located on the east side of the facility and one located on the west side. It'll be the intermediate kids on the west side, or on the east side. It'll be the primary kids on the west side. We have the bus drop. We're trying to work with a lot of the existing amenities that are up there right now. The existing parking and existing bus drop, we're going to reuse those, and they're going to remain. We've got the existing parking down in the south that will remain. And there was a new road that was built back in 2007 that is where the parents come in and make that loop and run along the front of the school and do the drop-off up at the dining room. So all of that is existing, and we're fitting all of this into that one campus. There will be the secured perimeters. There will be the emergency egress. There will be all of the new technology in all of the classrooms. Even 18 will get a full renovation. They will receive everything that the new building gets. Safety protocols all in place here, all the current safety protocols. We've got the perimeter fence, single point of access after bell rings. Everyone has to come through at the reception area, be buzzed in, check in, and then they can be buzzed into the school. So there's 2 layers there of how we enter into the facility. Let me see. So I'm going to go back now real quick. And at the end of the day, what you're looking at here is the yellow is dining and kitchen. Blue is our primary classrooms and intermediate classrooms. The orangish is the EMH or ESE classrooms. Purple is the media center. And down at the bottom there in the kind of off reddish is the music and art suites.
The salmon color, is that what you're saying?
What's that? Oh, an admin. Oh, so I forgot admin. Went through the school and forgot about admin. And then we've got admin right down there in that lower left-hand corner. The parking is directly to the left of that. Everything will enter into that admin entrance, and that's where the point of control is. Any questions?
Just real quick question on, I think it's fantastic the way we're separating the new construction with the old, that sort of thing. What is the existing cafeteria gonna be at the last thing so they can use that through construction, or they have to go eat somewhere else?
What we're gonna do is there's going to be a temporary wall constructed between the kitchen and the existing dining.
Gotcha.
That wall will stay through the course of construction. The kitchen will be operational through the entire, I talk with my hands and I hit microphone.
Okay.
That kitchen is going to be functional and operational during the entire course of construction. Now, the meals are going to be carried into, I guess what we said was going to be the music room. They're gonna serve at the music or the art room right now. So the kitchen's gonna prep the food, move it to where they're going to eat on that temporary basis until we can get the new building constructed and dining room open.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for clarifying why there were so many people out here. My first question was, why are all these people here?
All here for you. Ms. Messer, or Ms. Foreman, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. How are the trees? How many trees are you taking out? Will the courtyard still be?
What we've done is we've had an arborist go out and assess the trees, and we intend to keep as many of the trees as we possibly can, especially the grand oaks. If we go back, let's see. All righty. So if you can see this plan here, wherever you see solid circles out in the site on both the east and west sides, those are the trees to remain. So
Dotted trees are the ones that are
the
gonna go.
dotted trees will be the ones
Dotted
to be
circles are the
removed,
ones
yeah.
that are gonna end.
So they're either diseased and dying now, or they won't make it through the construction because of the proximity to the buildings.
So a lot are staying.
Oh, no, a lot of staying, a lot of staying.
It's most-
That was kind of a mandate. They love their trees out there, and we've been on the site several times. There's some, we can't buy trees like that.
Right.
So if we can protect them and keep them, we want to do that. The play court area, that's just a beautiful area right now, if you're familiar with this. So that's going to be pretty much staying just the way it is. We don't want to impact those trees in any way, shape, or form. They're all just grand, beautiful trees. And then in the courtyard area, just north of what's going to be the new dining area, and we've got glass that looks out onto this area, there's beautiful existing trees that will be protected, and those will remain, and the view out of that dining is going to be right into that courtyard area.
Oh, nice, nice.
That's all you had, Ms. Foreman?
Yeah, just want to protect those trees.
Anybody else?
We will protect the trees to the greatest extent possible.
I have just one, when you was talking about the kitchen and cafeteria area, you're building a temporary wall. And I remember where this auditorium and the dining area is, you're talking about where are you putting the temporary wall?
Right, so if you're familiar with the area,
Yeah,
what's gonna happen is we're going to remove the serving line
okay,
that's there now.
Right.
That wall will be built right about where the kids were coming into the serving line.
Okay.
The serving line is going to be relocated out to the music or the art building.
Okay.
And that's wherever they're gonna serve from. So there's still working room in the kitchen while that wall is up. But the dining room and the kitchen are actually separated buildings. The one was built back, again, a
Yeah,
while ago.
yeah, way back.
And the other one was built in '08. So there's already a separation there that we have a clean break. We can build the wall. It still allows enough room in the kitchen because the serving line's not in place anymore. So it does appear, and we've had numbers of meetings. Manatee County's been great to work with. All of their staff that we've had in the meetings have all been so cooperative, and everybody wants to see, there's a real feeling of everybody wants this project
Ownership.
to succeed, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember that kitchen there in particular, and I thought, wow, this is a great kitchen. And when the project came up, that was one of my first questions to Mr. Rinaldi. I mean, his kitchen doesn't need to go, but I can see where the dining room needs a little help. But, so, am I understanding there's not gonna be any portables pulled in? Is that correct? Awesome. I
And
like
we are,
that.
like I said, we are planned for a 4-classroom addition that is being, it's part of the program.
Right, and then in the slide where you said there's a specific future development, if we needed to add on, was if you could pull over to that slide, and let's see that. It was a shaded area in the top.
That cross-hatched area?
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Right there, I see it now. That is for how many student stations if we grew faster than 4?
4 classrooms.
How many students?
72.
72. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, thank you. Okay, all right, so we have room for growth out there. And that was one of the things that we, as a board, I know I was interested in, is like, okay, we don't know what kind of development is gonna go on in the next 10 years. At least we have somewhere to build if we
And
needed
that
to.
was, those conversations did keep coming up during the design phases, that the area is changing. I mean, Manatee County's changing.
Yes,
Um,
right,
Right now, we do have the ability to add 72 students.
okay. And the exterior, I don't know, maybe it's just me, it kind of looks industrial instead of school looking. That's just my vision of it. It's like, okay, I really didn't see that, but,
That's actually, the color would help, but we're in a kind of we're working on the brick color right now. So what you're looking at in that rendering is that's all gonna be brick. There will
Right.
be 2 colors of brick. When you see the light areas that do the little jog around the windows, that will be one color of brick. Where you see the darker color going around the windows, that will just be another color of brick. So it will still be all brick. Now, we've got some storefront in, that's the area right next to the reception area to give that a point of entry. We really want to make a point of entry statement here.
right,
We've had some challenges working with Building 18, which is directly adjacent
right,
to the reception area or the admin area. So we want to make sure that there's no confusion about where anybody's to go, that this is our
the
statement.
main entrance,
Yep.
right here.
And then when the bell rings, everything is locked down on site except for that one door going in. Well, that door is locked. You've got to buzz in.
Right,
And then once you're buzzed in, you have to get buzzed in to go into the school.
so I guess, is there any kind of landscaping in front of this at all? Or is it just all concrete? I'm just,
There will be
I
some
mean, even if we
landscaping.
added a couple of flower pots, that's me, the big kind of ones, that's just me.
No. You're right on point.
Oh,
Um,
there we go.
So, Building 18 has a sidewalk. That road that's there right now is an existing road.
Right,
And there's, basically, the way that this works is the road comes down, and then there's a sidewalk, and then we have Building 18. So there will be, it's hard to tell by this rendering, but in that corner, we do have some green space, and we will have some landscaping there.
right,
We are faced with some budget challenges, and landscaping and irrigation are a couple of the topics that we have up for discussion, but there will be something to soften that edge and give it some color.
all right. Okay, because like you said earlier, there's been a lot of input, community input, I'm sure, out there, because they do have ownership. And I'm glad that the county is working well with you and the school board on this.
It's been great.
Good.
We knew when and thank you all, we feel very honored to have been selected. We knew coming into this project that there were gonna be some challenges.
All right,
And it has proved to be a challenge. but we are meeting our tasks, we are on budget, we are on schedule, and we have everyone behind us pushing for a successful project. So I can't really ask for much more at this point,
Good deal.
other than your approval to go forward.
Okay.
Mr. Tatum.
Good evening. Thanks for all the work you're putting into this. It'll be a great school out
Pleasure.
there. I'm sure hopefully the community will appreciate it. This is probably from Mr. Rinaldi, actually, kind of behind you there,
I
Mr.
will
Rinaldi.
be happy to step out of the way.
It's okay. With the increased construction going on in the western part of the county, do we expect any increased enrollment at Palmasola based on any of that construction that's going on out there?
We may see a slight increase. We don't expect it to exceed our capacity, and we especially do not expect that it's going to exceed the capacity with the additional 72 student stations that we've planned for at this point. But if you even take a look at the addition, it's only shown as a 4-classroom addition. It's relatively easy that if we do see that growth there, that we'll be able to expand that to an 8-classroom, be able to double it the way that we did the addition at the end of the wing there. And it wouldn't have much of an impact on the core facilities, being the dining and the kitchen and all that, to actually do an 8-pack rather than a 4-pack on the end there. And we'll be watching that development in the west part of the county.
Great. Thank you very much. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Dr. Weissong.
Board, I just want to thank Mr. Rinaldi, Mr. Wiles, Mr. Goff, Mr. Clark, and our construction and architecture partners because of all of the iterations that this project has been through. And I really think that we've landed in a good place from a design perspective. And Mr. Tatum, I appreciate your last question, and we'll talk more about this at Friday's workshop. But really, I think with all of our projects moving forward, we're trying to figure out how do you use space for potential growth on existing schools. So I think the 4 or 8-pack is a great option. Also, just want to thank our principal, Dr. Grimes, her supervisor, Dr. Cadelia. They're both in the back. The 3 of us spent time Monday morning on campus and working through some of the logistics. And Dr. Grimes has been collaborating with her colleagues at Blackburn and Terra and Onico, where we also have other projects going on, and kind of learning from all of them so that we can apply what we learned to this project as well. And she remarked that her team is ready to go, so we're excited to get moving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, that moves us on to our next presentation, which is the 24-25 final millage rates and final budget with updates on the 24-25 capital plan.
What about MENS?
I'm sorry, what about what?
MENS?
Oh, do you have anything to add to the presentation?
They talk the money.
This ran a little later than what I thought, so we're available for additional questions if you have budget and schedule questions. Otherwise, we can move on.
You have any questions for MENS?
No, it delays out all the GMPs, which since we're approving the first one tonight, it might be nice to just state them.
Okay,
Through it really quick.
sure, absolutely.
I'm sure you really wanted to come up here. You were like, oh.
Opportunity. I'm Josh Tomlinson. I'm with MBS General Contractors, and I'll run you guys briefly through the GMP approach and kind of what's in each. These are key construction dates. Mobilization is 10/24, and we're actually looking to improve that a little bit to the beginning of October, contingent upon approval tonight. And then from there, we'll run into the building demolition, which GMP 1 that you're being asked to approve tonight includes the full demolition all the way through the project, with Forestall Enterprises being the demolition contractor. And then the next GMP you will see will be GMP 2, which will include all of the site work and site improvements. We are wrapping up pricing on that now, and that seems to be in line with the budget as it should be. And then new construction will start in February after we get GMP 3, and GMP 3 will be on the January board agenda, and that will include all of the remaining construction costs for the project in totality. And then you can see here on the June 26th to October 26th, that's the demolition of all the existing buildings once the new building's occupied. This is kind of where we're going, ballpark budget review, GMP 1, which is inclusive of pre-construction as well. This reflects what you're going to be looking at tonight. GMP 2 is actually going to come in less than that 2 million number, so that's good. And then GMP is kind of reflective of the all-in with a total construction budget of 26.145 million. We are currently, based upon the 80% design budget, within budget, and we do have a list of items that are potential cost-saving items that we can explore if we do need to reduce the budget at the final pricing stage. And that's that. So, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Yeah.
Can we go back one slide previous, sir, if we could, please? Thanks. Just for my edification, what causes the $5 million difference between the total construction cost and the total project budget?
The total construction represents actual sticks and bricks cost. Total project represents design and soft cost as well, FF&E and owner cost that are on David's side.
Okay. Architectural plans. And
Yep.
Okay.
architectural plans,
Yes, sir.
environmental studies, things.
Yeah, building department, you all have third-party building department, that the cost of that's included in there. Material testing, asbestos surveying, and you know, that type of testing, all that stuff is covered
Equipment for
on
the
David's side.
classrooms and things. Yeah.
Yeah, furniture.
Furniture and stuff like that too. Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
And, oh,
I'm excited for this.
somebody else? No? All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you. Now we will move on to the presentation regarding the 24-25 final millage rates and final budget.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chair Cho, Vice Chair, and board members. Tonight, we're having the presentation for the final budget and the final millage, and I'd like to tonight introduce you to the budget team. They are here with us. Tonight, we have Gina Malinak, our budget director, and behind her, we have Amy Allen. She's our senior budget analyst. We have Gabby Rulo. She's our budget analyst, and we have Roz Maida, also a senior budget analyst. So this is our team that has worked so hard to get this information put together for tonight. It's a process that lasts all year long to be able to get up to this point. Throughout the year, we end up bringing those amendments to you to get to where we end up being at the end of the fiscal year, while they're also planning to get the next year's budget. So to that end, I'll go to slide 2. All right, so tonight we'll be adopting the final budget and the final millage for school year 2024-25. This is required by state statute, after which the budget department tomorrow will be notifying the tax collector to let them know of the final approved millage. In turn, the tax collector notifies the taxpayers of the school tax that will be assessed in this county for the 24-25 year. And then slide 3. We've got, this is just a refresher. Remember the revenue from DOE, the FEFP, the Florida Education Finance Program. This is where the state allocates the state and local funding for the districts in the state of Florida. The local funds are sourced by the property taxes, and the legislature sets the required local effort. And on slide 4, now besides the required local effort, there are some prior period funding adjustments that the legislature will assess through the process near the end of the budget process. In addition, there's that discretionary operating millage. It's the .748. There is also the local referendum of the additional voted tax of 1 mil, and we have the capital outlay or the Local Capital Improvement Tax, LCIF for short, of the 1.5 mil. And I'll detail those a little bit later in the presentation. Right, so here we have a comparison of the final millage rate and the millage revenue, and this is in comparison to the prior fiscal year. Now, everyone was provided at the last workshop the budget books, and we did have two sheets that got corrected that were passed out before this meeting in those budget books. Now, the millage overview starts on page 24 in the budget book. And on page 26 is the history of the levies is detailed in further detail. So again, we have the required local effort. It is this year going to be 3.051. It decreased 0.122 from the prior year that had been 3.173. Now this is shown on page 28 of the budget book. We point out that the property value did increase this year of $6.8 billion, so the required local revenue increased $11.48 million. Now, due to the property value increase, we saw also the other millages increased as well. The discretionary operating revenue of the .748 increased $4.8 million, and the local added voted millage increased $6.5 million, and the local capital improvement revenue increased $9.8 million. Now, as a reminder, the LCIF, the 1.5 mil, is shared this year with the charter schools, just like last year, but the gliding scale now increased 40% from 20% last year. And on next slide, we have, okay, so the millages are noted in the budget book on page 32. The district increase in the gross taxable property value leads to more tax revenue being collected, even though the millage rate that's assessed by this board decreased from the prior year. And on our next slide, okay, so this is where we are actually required to discuss the rolled back rate by state statute. So on page 31 in the budget books, this effect is also displayed there. But the rollback rate is the millage rate needed to generate the same revenue, amount of revenue that was last year if the was applied to the current assessed property value. Now that rate, with the millage rate of 6.299 this year, that exceeds the rollback rate by 2.77. So we've got a little bit of the math work to kind of explain that to the average person that's sitting there, citizens wondering how that ended up getting calculated. So we hope that that made it clear. And this information was displayed in the tentative budget presentation as well, but again, we're required to go ahead and repeat it again. So, and please feel free to stop me if you've got any questions. Some of this information we did have at the tentative budget, and we just carry forward. Some of it might be the same, but we tried to improve our slides a little bit, so it looks just a little different. All right, now, on the next slide, this is showing the effect of the rollback rate actually on each millage. Again, the same total is 2.77%, but it kind of shows you the impact by millage, how that affected the total. And then the next slide shows the millage rate that shows the trend going back to 2017-18. The millage rate this year being 6.299, and the for the required local effort, which has declined year after year. And since 2017-18, we have seen more than a mil has been decreased out of this required local effort rate. Now, to further discuss about that, if the district weren't to levy, and this is a reminder before because we've talked about it before, if the required local effort was not assessed, this district would not be allowed to participate in the state's FEFP revenue program. So that's one reason why you do end up having that tax, and we bring it to the board for their approval. And in discussion about the discretionary operating tax, that's the .748. As a reminder, that one, while it's discretionary and someone might ask why it's not being levied, the reason why you do levy is, one, this district, the students would be at a disadvantage, because if we didn't get that, if that revenue was not assessed or adopted, the district would still have to pay the proportionate share to the charter schools as if we had that particular millage. So that is another reason why we do propose it for adoption. All right, and this slide demonstrates that the state FEFP funding was collected over the last 5 years, has declined, while you see that the property tax revenue has increased and collected, while that required local effort rate decreased. And the green line shows the actual collections of the required local effort and the discretionary taxes combined. All right, and then moving on to the next slide, we have, this is a demonstration of an impact on an average real property taxpayer, where you would see an increase of the taxes by $120. This is due to the property values increasing, even though you can see where the millage rate decreased. And likewise, on the next slide, we see the impact of using last year's property value with this year's millage. And this is a demonstration to show to someone that if that had been applied, you'd actually be seeing a decrease in your taxes because the millage rate went down. And then the next slide, this is showing the impact on a single-family taxpayer who is participating in the Save Our Homes program. Now, this is that program where the property value is capped at 3%. So you can see where someone who's participating in that program with their home, they see a slight increase in the property taxes from last year. And this is due to capping at 3%.
Ms. Ellis, I have a question there. Back on slide number 11, please.
Okay, just one back.
Yeah, so when we talk about the average impact on a real property taxpayer, would that be anybody that owns property that's not like a homestead, that's not homesteaded? Is that where that example comes from?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then if we move forward to slide 13, that is an example of a homesteaded single-family resident taxpayer property. I'm just making sure we understand the difference between the two of those.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. That's all I wanted to clarify for myself and maybe anybody else that was
Anybody
watching.
who's watching it.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So slide 14. Okay, so now in the budget book, we have some of this information is noted on page 2. The ending fund balance for of all funds ending June 30, 2025, we would be expecting to see, based on this budget, a $210 million. Now, of that, when you look at the general fund, we would be projecting a budgeted end of $50.7 million, and this would be with a general fund reserve balance of 8.56%, which is required in the district's fund balance policy. Now, the general fund, looking at this 2025 ending fund balance, would be representing 24% is general fund. I point out that the capital fund is 58% of that ending funding balance, and this is a reminder that the capital fund represents funds that have been secured for multiple years worth of construction, maintenance types projects for the district's facilities, and that's why you see this one so large at this time. And it is including the impending COPS financing that we will be securing this fall for the 2 new elementary schools, which we'll be discussing the capital plan changes in just a little bit. Okay, and then going to the next slide, as promised when we were presenting during the other workshops and at the tentative budget, we were going to make sure we pointed out any of the significant changes that we had occurred before this final budget, based on all of our other presentations from before. So in this respect, related to the general fund, I did want to point out that we did have some increase in expenditures, and this was related to some of the choice program proportionate share changes where FTE caused increase in staffing because of changes between maybe charter schools coming over to projections over and being handled by the district instead. So based on that forecasting, that net difference totaled to about $3 million. And then also based on the current weather happenings, we did establish a hurricane shelter operations of $1.5 million to project just for the community protection that we'll have in this county. Now, there are other changes that occurred that we didn't recognize before, but as we see the awards coming in, there were some local grants. And when we budget for them, we budget to also show that we'll be spending that entire award, so the revenues and the expenditures are pretty much a wash. And then we also receive PICO funding for the charter schools, and that will be revenue coming from the state that we immediately disperse back out to those charter schools. So that's one. These are some of the most significant changes between in the tentative budget presentations versus the final budget that we have presented to you guys today.
Can I ask a question? The Manatee Education Foundation, the $1 million, do they give it to us and then we disperse it, or are they doing that directly? Does it run through our budget is what I'm asking.
It does not run through our budget, no.
I have a question then real quick.
Yeah.
Just
Were you done?
Yeah.
from on slide number 15 here, from a layperson's accounting standpoint, on the left, on the bottom left, it says final budget expenditures for this school year are $662 million approximately. And over on, to the right there, it says we're bringing in $600 million or so. And so one would look at that and say, well, our expenditures are going to exceed our revenue by about $62 million. Is that, just looking at that from that standpoint, you would like to see that the revenue would cover expenditures, but what can you address that? Is that a deficit? Or like, I don't want to say we're deficit spending, that's not the right word, but just address that, because it looks like from this page that revenues will not meet expenditures, but.
Well, we carried forward from revenues that we've taken in prior years. We've carried forward around $21 million worth of, money that we had to reappropriate into the budget this year, that we hope to spend down. But yes, the difference would come out of the fund balance.
Comes out of the fund balance?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And that's why we're going from a 14 to an 8.5.
Correct.
Right. So just again, to explain to the public, we had a pretty large fund balance at the end of the last fiscal year, right? And so some of this difference will be made up by what you might call money we had in savings that we're carrying forward into this operating year. Is that
That's correct.
correct analysis of
Plan
that?
is to spend some of that down, yes.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to know. Thanks for clarifying that. Thank you.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm waiting till after.
Okay.
And I did want to point out in the budget book that you'll be able to see at the back end of the book, we do have the departments where instruction starts on page 73. We have operations back there, and business services and the superintendent, and then starting on page 105 are the school staff. So again, just like the other ones, so, and that encompasses your budget book. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have my budget binder I've been reviewing that since I got it. And I do have a lot of sticky notes, I'm sorry for that, but we do. I would say on page 11, if we could swap out that picture to be representative of our superintendent. That's just a me thing. I'm like, okay, we should have our superintendent on there, not the former. Page 26. The proposed, in the fine print under the graphs, it says the proposed millage rate for 24-25 is 1.9% lower than the millage rate levied last year. So what slide in the deck that you have now is compatible to that statement?
Okay, slide number.
Page 26 of the budget binder.
It was
Probably show.
On the bottom of the page, it says 26.
Yes, at the bottom of the budget binder, it says page 26.
Yes.
Right,
And you're trying to figure out which one is shown here in.
right, it says like that 1.9% lower than the millage rate levied last year.
It was like slide.
We don't
So-
have the percentage, we have the
Yeah, so we,
difference right here.
oh, well, that would be on slide 5.
5, yeah, I was gonna say 5. Yeah,
Yes.
slide 5.
Kind of on 8 as well, but yeah, no, 5.
I mean, to me, that looks like your rates are going to be 1.9% lower. I mean, when I look at the chart above, I don't see a reduction from 23-24 to 24-25 of a reduction of 1.9%. So that's just a little confusing for me anyway, of why we have that statement under that graph.
We could add the percent to future slides if that helps.
Pardon me?
We could add the percent change along with the mill change if that helps in future
Well,
presentations.
I'm just, in the budget binder that I was given, I can't match that 1.9% to the chart above it.
Because it's not a matching number. They're
Okay.
saying the movement of 0.12 is
Okay.
1.9%
Okay,
of
movement.
6.4,
All right.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm just reading it different than what it, okay, because to me, it's confusing, the way it's written.
Not to interrupt you, Ms. Ray, but I just pulled up a little calculator. If you take 6.299 and divide it by 6.42, you get
You're getting that.
0.981, which is where you get 1.9%.
Okay,
So that's where that's
Difference
coming.
is
Yeah.
1.9.
See, paying attention to math class came in handy.
There you go.
There you
I
go.
appreciate that. Good job.
There you go.
I appreciate that. Okay. And then I'm just going to page 33. The critical need mill has decreased, 6,224,000. Yet on page 42, I think it is, it has the 6,099,019. So that, do you see what I'm saying? See, I'm chasing off the leadership
losing
Manatee
'em.
people. We're losing them, start talking budgets.
Where's she at? Are you talking about the budget?
So you're talking
I'm
about.
looking at page 33,
Uh-huh.
I got
gross taxable value, and the critical operating need increase from 2324 to 2425. The number is 6,224,715.
So
In blue, yeah.
this,
Right, yet on the,
this is this book on page 33 of the budget book
yep,
is reflecting the gross taxable value times the millage rate at 96%. But the
Right.
slide in Rachel's deck shows that over the years, we have collected slightly more than the 96% we budget at.
okay.
And so this schedule on page 42 represents what we've actually collected.
Okay, that, good explanation.
Okay.
Thank
Which
you.
I appreciate, the budget being based on 96 and not 98 or 99 or 100, because not everybody pays their taxes.
Right, okay, well, that explains that, all right. And, like I said, some of them are more complicated, but I don't need answers here directly. I just earmarked a lot of these pages for myself, so I know a lot of people saw my binder and like, oh my goodness, Miss Bray's gonna go nuts here, but I actually had a plan. Let's go to page 75. This is the instructional division section of the binder. Operation costs, the first section, E-Tech teachers is going up 185% from year to year, correct? And why such a huge increase?
So in regards to the personnel costs, so there was salaries of 140,000 and benefits of 101,000, and then you had stipends of 164,000. But in 23-24, they only paid 125,000 in stipends. And then so that took care of the personnel. If you're wondering about the operational, the Florida Virtual School is, the budget is 240,000, but in 23-24, we only paid 85,000.
Right. So we're paying so much, a lot more for the Florida Virtual, basically, is what that is. And they determine what we pay them, correct? We don't have a bargaining chip with them at all.
We have an agreement with them, and
Right.
so a lot of the costs, so we budget an amount, but then a lot of the costs are going to be based on student enrollment in those courses and some other factors.
Okay. All right. That one just, I'm like, wow, that's a big jump. And then I guess even on to page 76, same thing. Operational costs for school improvement jumped quite a bit. 71%.
Right, so in the personnel, you'll see that there was a hired a secretary position, and in 23-24, it was half a year's salary for an executive director. So, but in 24-25, we're budgeting for 2 full positions, the executive director and secretary.
And so, Ms. Spray, this was, as you remember last year, we discontinued an existing executive director position in order to create that executive director for school improvement position. And we opened it inside of the old cost center that school improvement used to operate out of. So it looks like a large budget increase there, but it's really just the movement of positions from one function previously that we discontinued into this new one.
Okay, so we just went from one section to another section, that's why it looks so inflated.
Correct.
Okay, that's a good explanation for that. Page 78, I just had a comment highlighted of adult career and technical education. In that block, in the language, it says extended day enhancement program, all elementary, secondary and post-secondary. I was just like, okay, this is adult career and technical section. Why are we capturing extended day in that?
Wait, that's my fault. I didn't update that. The EDEP program has moved under curriculum. So
Okay,
it's
so that's
really,
gonna
we
be-
should update that comment.
Okay, so
Yes.
it was a good catch then, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got that. All right, good deal. Then I think probably the final was the general fund allocations, page 104, at the bottom. Reserve miscellaneous cost centers. That's all of our, that's not, I guess I need an explanation of what miscellaneous cost centers that we're carrying forward, and even on page 100.
Okay, so,
You want me to do this one? It's here. So we hold things in there until we know where to, so, for example, some of our state categoricals,
Okay.
we might not have a full plan to spend those down yet, so we don't give them to a cost center right away until we actually get the plans.
Okay.
Some of the CAPE funds and the ACE and the AP, we don't yet know what schools are entitled to them, so we hold some money in a reserve cost center until we get like testing scores so that we can push them out to the schools.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So that's the kind of things that sit in the reserve during the budget.
And if I remember right, how much in reserves are we rolling over? I don't have that chart in front of me.
So you want the total that, sorry, you
Oh,
want
I'm
the total
sorry.
that?
I thought it was me.
No, it was me.
No, all right.
You want the total that we're carrying
Well,
forward?
I thought that there was a chart in here that showed how much, all the little boxes of what we're carrying forward. I'm sure there was one in here. I just don't know where it's at. I guess the question is, we had 15, what did you say, percent in reserves, and we're gonna be spending that down to the
8.56.
8.56. Okay. Well, I have some other questions, but I'll wait and talk to you and Dr. Weissong. I did a school tour today at Ballard, and when I see some money that maybe could be used for an additional staff member there that would help them, but I see we got money in this bucket, that bucket, and this bucket, kind of makes me think a little bit, but you guys are the experts, so that's my budget book.
Anybody else with questions, thoughts? I'll just say, I don't know
Thanks,
what-
yeah,
I'll just say thank you very much. I thought that the presentation was great. I really loved the going back and showing this year's millage rate. If there was no increase in property, in your property, that you'd be less. You'd be saving $35, right? Unfortunately, we live in a place that everybody wants to move to. I mean, not unfortunately. Fortunately, if you own the house. So I really thought that was good. I think the other side, and listen, I want to make sure the public knows that, we've been working on this since February-ish, right? And so this isn't something we just turn out like that. And so, there's been several workshops, and I know you all work at this all the time. So thank you all very much for what you do. It's not easy. It's a large organization, a large budget, and it's not always easy. And we thank you all very much. Ms. Messenger, and then I'll jump to Dr.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Just thank you for all of the time. It's been months in the making. We've had multiple workshops where you guys have been able to answer our questions and break things down. And so I just really wanted to thank you guys. I know how much time this takes and the work that you put into it. That's it.
Nights, weekends, and holidays, right? Nights, weekends, and holidays sometimes. Maybe not holidays, but at least nights and weekends.
And displacement from a.
Yeah, and displacements from flood.
Yes, they don't work in this building anymore.
We'll get you back eventually.
Thank you.
Dr. Weissong?
I just want to echo the thanks to Mrs. Sellers and our budget team. We sometimes hear perceptions from the public about, wanting to keep central office costs down and, avoid, bloated bureaucracies. This is the whole budget team responsible for what will, if you approve the budget tonight, just under a $1.6 billion budget managed by those 5 people, 2 of whom have jobs other than just working on the budget. And so it's really a Herculean effort. And to your point, Chairman, this has been going on for many months with the board. What's amazing is approval tonight. There'll be reports submitted to up to Tallahassee tomorrow. And then this team can get everything finalized, because in a month's time, we'll send our first semester enrollment data to Tallahassee, and next year's budget planning begins the following Monday in mid-October. This is not a team that gets a lot of rest. We appreciate it.
No rest for the weary.
Always
And
rolling.
we got budget updates every month, and they're usually
Yes.
decent. So, thank you all very much.
Thank
Again,
you for,
appreciate it.
for helping me. I just wanted to get some of those questions answered.
Now, we can segue over, we're going to have a very brief update because of some of the changes that occurred since the last tentative for the capital, 5-year capital plan. And that would be slide 17. All right, I'm going to let Joe take it away.
Okay, good evening again. I'm going to go through primarily the changes that have been made since the May 17th meeting, where we presented the preliminary capital budget. I've highlighted the changes in red. As I go through, I will be referencing the line numbers that you can see. We'll first take a look at the projected revenues, where there were some minor changes. Then I'll give you kind of an overview of the new construction projects, and then we'll talk about some detailed expenditures. So this first slide here, line number 1, an additional $4 million was added to the revenues based on state projections on July 1, which estimated a property value increase of $3.7 billion over what we had presented to you on May 17th. Line number 2 is the corresponding increase to the charter schools, an additional $1.5 million. Line number 9 is a revised PICO number for the charter schools, and that's a kind of a transfer through the district to the charter schools. That increased by $1.4 million. And then the remainder of the revenue remained the same. Total projected capital revenue for 24-25 comes in at right around $362 million, and that does include the COPS issue for the 2 elementary schools as well. Next slide. Going through the new construction projects, want to just give you a quick update. The 2 new elementary schools, Artisan Lake and Rye Ranch, the prototype has been selected, and we're actually doing site adaptation of those prototypes right now. The construction management services, that is advertised presently, so we anticipate in the next couple weeks bringing to you the committee's ranking for the number 1 for the construction manager. So both of those projects are moving forward, and we'll be having a COPS presentation for the funding of those projects in an upcoming work session as well. The North River Ranch construction is nearing 35% complete at this point, and it has a scheduled completion in late spring of 2025 right now, so we're moving forward with that. The K-8 project overall, 6% complete with the elementary portion, because there's a middle school portion and an elementary school portion. We'll be opening up that elementary portion in 25-26, and they're right at about 15% complete right now. So a little slowdown because of rain at this point, but we still feel that we are on schedule for both of those projects to be completed for next school year opening. The planning and programming for the new high school will start after the first of this year, and that is going to be an additional COPS project, and we'll be presenting that to you separately as well. And we have started design and site adaptation for the Williams Elementary School addition, which will be an 8-classroom addition for that campus as well. So that's some of the new construction projects that are in the budget at this point.
I just have a quick question on that, if you don't mind. On any of these projects, and from the flooding that we just had that was massive, has that had, I know it's slowed down construction, but it had any kind of impact on design, a bigger retention pond or anything like that?
No, because we typically are designing for a 100-year storm, even though we
Okay.
just had the 100-year storm.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that size is, but we've already been through permitting, and there's really not going to be any modifications. And we're so early in the construction of those two projects that really what we're waiting for is a lot of the long lead items. Yeah, it's nice to get concrete in the ground, nice to get the walls going up, but we're waiting for the HVAC and all that. And that isn't impacted by weather, so that's why we think that we'll see, you know, a quick sprint to the end of the year, and then making the budget by the start of next school year.
Okay, good deal. That's good to know.
Mr. Tatum?
Either Mr. Rinaldi or Ms. Sellers, just, I'm getting smarter on how we actually finance our schools, so I'm just gonna see if I understand how we finance them. Basically, where the funds come from, it appears that most of the funds, if not all of them, come from the local tax base or either COPS, which is borrowing money. Is that essentially true? Meaning it's the 1.5 mil that we have for capital outlay, it's the half-cent sales tax that we have for capital outlay, and then we have to make up the rest through borrowing money through the COPS process.
There are impact fees.
Yeah, the
And
impact fees are
that's
able
true,
to leverage the impact fees as long as you're adding additional student stations to the district. So the impact fee is a big contributor to it as well.
But we're not getting any, essentially, I mean, if you go back to slide 17 and you look at the PICO money, which, to help people understand what all these acronyms mean, Public Education Capital Outlay, PICO, is that we don't really get any money from the state to build new schools, right?
No, that carries through directly to the charter schools.
Right, to the charter schools. And those projects there, the aviation maintenance school, the academy, the MTC law enforcement academy range. I mean, the point is, almost all the money that we're using to build new schools is financed locally through the things that we meant, the taxes I mentioned, plus the impact fees, right? There's really not much money, if any, coming from the state to build new schools. Okay.
That's correct.
It was interesting for me to finally understand that, and I think it's interesting for the public to understand too, so.
And those PICO funds for the aviation, the range, Anna Maria, the Guy Harvey, those are all appropriations that we went and asked for.
Right.
And we're awarded. So, yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Correct.
All right, Mr. Rinaldi?
Want to go to the next slide, please? Next slide. Okay, so now we're going to get into the details on the expenditures.
Yeah.
We're going to start first. Line number 30 is the Anna Maria Elementary School, the Guy Harvey Dock project. So that's funding that has come through that state allocation. We put $994,000 is what we received in that grant. So we've included that in the capital budget. Line number 53 adds the Harley renovations for the Soarin' 4 that we did during a workshop. So we've added that into the capital budget as well. All other expenditures up to line 79 on this page remain the same from what we presented back in May. Note that the color coding on the pages, the orange identifies the renovation, remodeling, and addition future projects that were identified in the Jacobs report. The blue identifies the 23 COPS projects, and those were also generated by the Jacobs report, our full facility assessment, but we've got those financed, and all of those projects are actually up and under construction right now. And then the dark green, when we get a little later in, will be the new elementary schools, that's Artisan Lakes and Rye Ranch, and then the pink will be the new middle school, which is on following couple pages. Next page, please.
Mr. Tatum?
Yeah, we have a question.
Mr. Rinaldi, just again make sure I have a correct understanding of what the Jacobs report is, and so for the public too. The Jacobs report is a report done by like an independent organization that looks at our facilities and kind of determines which ones are in the most need of repairs, renovations, and things like that. And what that helps us do is do those in the order that they're needed rather than just somebody deciding, hey, I think we'll do Harvey now and that school over there later, and then it could be seen as the public thinking, well, some parts of the town are getting favorable treatment and other parts of the town aren't getting favorable treatment. This is a way to kind of put an order to that and make sure that it's done in in an organizationally correct manner. Is that true?
Yep, yeah, exactly. About 5 years ago, we hired Jacobs Engineering to do the full evaluation, and there were probably about 16 different categories that they looked at, everything from windows to roofing to flooring to walls, foundations, and then they rated every single campus that we had based on where that campus stood relative to its life cycle. So we've really already taken 10 of those major renovations, and they're under construction now. Hopefully will be complete within the next 18 months with all of them. Now we're looking at the next group of about 10 as well. So we continuously go through and we update that report. If we replace a roof, then it goes from being a 1 to being a 10, and we recalculate the priorities, and we also update what the costs are for the actual construction that's identified as well. So,
Thank you. That just helps us ensure an unbiased process to make sure that the buildings in the most need of renovation or repair get done first. And it's not really a personal decision by the board or anybody in the room. It's based on an orderly process. Thank you for that.
now on this particular page, we really had no modifications on lines 80 through 124, but I want to note that the new elementary schools are on lines 82 and 83, and they're in the green. The pink on line 84 is the new high school. So you can see that the funding for the new high school starts next year, so that's why we'll be doing design come the springtime and selecting possibly a prototype. In addition to that, the blue projects are the active COPS projects that we have, Onico, Palmasola, Terra Elementary School. Those are all the active COPS projects that are underway right now.
You have Ms. Spray.
I
is
do.
that up to speak to Ms.
I wanted to know what, I guess, we just went through the Palmasola, so we don't need that, but where are we on the Onico and Terra projects?
Onico, we're going to present those projects to you at Friday's workshop.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all good.
we're about in the 30, let's say in the 25 to 35 to 40% for all of the COPS projects that are up and running right now.
Okay.
And we'll present those in detail
Perfect.
on Friday with you.
Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, on line 99, Rowlett Elementary School renovation, $20 million in year 4. That's a charter school. Why is it on our capital?
Converted.
It's a conversion charter school. So
So we're still responsible for the physical facilities there, and they were evaluated as part of the Jacobs report that we just talked about as well, and given a priority that they were at the time in the top 25.
they do not receive the 1.5 mil money.
They don't, and they don't receive PICO, well, PICO goes,
They
PICO
won't give
go-
them to them either.
has gone away for, okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Tatum, you have a quick comment?
Again, just for the public's edification, COPS means certificates of participation, which is basically money that we borrow to make sure that we have sufficient funds to build all the schools that we need to build in the time frame that we need to build them. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Great. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
You want to go to the next slide? Okay, on the next slide, line number 144, we added the security upgrades that we're going through right now as a result of House Bill 1473. We felt that it was important to track those expenditures. In addition, line number 146 has been added to track the water damage which we've had as a result of the flood here at the SSC. These costs will be reimbursed by the insurance company, less our deductible, and our deductible is funded on line item number 152, which is uninsured property costs, and our deductible for a rather large event is right around $100,000 at this point right now. All other expenditures remain the same as what I presented to you in May.
Mr. Rinaldi, Ms. Foreman has a question.
House Bill 1473, we're spending $300,000 because of that bill. How much did the state fund us for that?
We received no funding. That was an unfunded mandate.
So this is coming out of the classroom.
Other
budget.
projects, yes.
Thank you.
And
However,
Oh,
if I can just clarify, keep in mind, that's what we've budgeted. We'll let you know at the end of the process what we actually spent, because we're still in the implementation phase. So hopefully we'll be able to put some of those funds back, but we have incurred some expenditure already.
Ms. Spray?
unfunded mandates, we all hate them. I will say, does this include any expenditures for the Evolve systems? That was a whole different capital project, right?
Yeah, that was a separate project.
That's a separate
This
thing.
is for actual
People.
physical things and.
Okay. Oh, no, not people. Okay. I just want to say that I was in an event and people used the Evolve system there too. And security was wonderful and they rave about that system. So I was proud to say that we have it here as well. So I just want to make that comment. Unfunded mandates, hate them. Okay, thank you.
Okay, want to go to the last slide? So, all lines on this slide really remain the same, including our capital transfers, which are funding of our bus drivers, funding of other expenditures through the capital budget, and our debt service estimates remain the same. So in the end, we've got a projected capital expenditure for 24-25 around $544 million. And the new revenues, as I said, are right around $362 million. And we've got an ending fund balance of around $121 million. This is typical, as Ms. Sellers says, for capital budgets, because major expenditures that we do are usually across multiple years. So you carry the budget year over year. So at this point, this wraps up the capital budget for 24-25.
Thank you.
I also did want to point out, because I failed to mention it when I introduced the rest of the team, we do have one capital accountant in charge of the budget. She is in the finance department. She wasn't here this evening, but her name is Janet Clousey, and I did want to point that out, that she does handle and work with Joe on a very regular basis.
Yep.
Yes, she does. She knows exactly which funds are allowed to fund what projects. So
Yes.
anyhow, I wanted to give her a shout out as well.
Good team member.
That's a thankless job.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you all very much. I know we'll be getting to approving that here in a little bit. So thank you all for that. I want to jump in to public comment before we take a quick recess. So that way those who want a public comment and get out of here can. Start with Miss Mayor Shirley Grover Bryant. You're our first public comment. So come on up. And your 3 minutes is above you on the screen.
Okay.
I know us politicians can be long-winded, so
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
I'll talk really fast. I'm Shirley Groover Bryant, and my partner in crime is Marianne Barnaby. She's on the Bradenton City Council. So anyway, the reason I'm here this evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. I know y'all have a lot to do, but I understand that there's going to be a school coming up, and something has weighed on me for a very long time. The fact that there was somebody that was so instrumental in education, improving education, and bringing so much to the youth throughout the years that a lot was built on. So I just want to share this with you. Frankie A. McKay Howes made a tremendous contribution to education in Palmetto and Manatee County. During her time as an educator, she was a teacher, a school principal, a librarian, and Palmetto's first football coach.
Wow.
Teachers who were revolutionizing methods of education in Chicago trained Frankie when she was a teenager. When her health failed, she traveled to Florida to live with a relative. In 1889, following the yellow fever epidemic, there was a need for teachers desperately in the area. Miss Frankie, as she was called, answered that call. She ordered textbooks from Chicago and paid for them with her own money. She divided students into grades and became the school principal. As a vivacious young woman, she soon attracted and married Captain James A. Howes, whose wife had died of yellow fever. Frankie gave birth to 3 sons, but was widowed when the youngest was 9 years old. She taught school for 67 years in Manatee County. She put her children through college and took classes at Columbia University during the summers. Palmetto Elementary was named after her at one point, but after a restoration, the dedication was forgotten. The plaque that stood on the building itself it's basically in a corner of the historical park in the city of Palmetto. It's a travesty that a school that was once named after her has, of course, gone by the wayside. It was renamed Palmetto Elementary School and it was relocated. But someone that contributed so much to education in this area and just really laid some very strong groundwork. And as educators and working with so many educators, you really that you would probably understand even more of it than I do. But there are so many components that I think she grew and developed. She tried to teach the whole student, and that was a lot of her mission. So with that, I'd like to implore that we might be able to correct this travesty. And as a school is opening up, I understand, I wanted to come forward and suggest this as a very strong possibility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Marianne Parnaby, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Weissong. If you look in that packet on the page that it says 4 of 8, you'll see a picture. And in that picture is my mother. She's one of the students
Oh, wow.
of Ms. Howes. She talked about Ms. Howes. She told me what a wonderful teacher she was. My mother thought school was supposed to be a social experience. She was not scholastically inclined, but she learned to love certain things because of Ms. Howes. I join Mayor Gruber Bryant and ask you all to reconsider and put her name on one of the schools in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You.
I will leave that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, sure.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Last public comment, Dwight Walton, come on up. Good evening.
Thank you for giving me, the board, superintendent, opportunity to speak. I have one question. I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Dwight L. Walton, Sr. I'm a resident, born and raised here in Bradenton. I graduated from Florida A&M. I'm a 27-year retired state trooper. I did all 27 years over in Palm Beach County. October 14, 2022, the Department of Education put out a memo stipulating that the changes in reference to the fingerprinting for K through 12, private and public, that's mandating that now they have to be rescreened. My question is, based upon the memo, Department of Education instructed the superintendent's office to notify the charter schools. They have not been notified, and the change is coming. So I'd like to address the board and the superintendent. Is the charter schools going to be notified that the change is coming? I've reached out to I own a company. We do the electronic fingerprinting, drug testing, background screening. I've reached out to the charter schools to ascertain if they're aware of the changes, and they said they're not, and the district is still providing fingerprints for charter schools. Based upon the memo, it should have stopped January 1st, 2023. Right now it's 2 years. This has to take place by 2026, January 1st. If someone could help me and let me know if you're going to advise the charter schools, and if you so, when, and if I could be a part of the notification. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mr. Walton.
Mhm.
All right, so that concludes our public comment, and thank you all for joining in on the public comment. We're gonna take it. It's 6:40. We'll take our first 10-minute recess, and we'll get back at 6:50. We're adjourned.
When are we starting the public?
I had a teacher that worked next to me, and she screamed. She yelled, and I never yell. Like if I consider like if I'm gonna yell, it's the same approach I take up here. Like when I get loud, like that's gonna be meaningful because I'm not gonna be that way all the time.
All right, welcome back after a much needed recess. All right, we're gonna move to item number 10, consent items. Dr. Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the consent agenda for the school board meeting on September 10th, 2024.
So moved, but we're all out.
Oh, so we got a motion from Ms. Spray, second from Ms. Messenger. I think she's logging into
There,
Granicus.
As mine.
I got it.
We can go ahead and vote verbally as you guys log in. All those in favor of approving the consent items, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Passes 5-0.
Yep, everybody's in now, okay.
All right, so I'm going to close this meeting and now open the public hearing for the board to hear any public comments regarding the 2024-2025 final millage rates and final budget questions. Anybody in the audience would like to come up? You don't have to sign up for public comment.
See,
Anybody?
all of the questions.
Anybody? Nope, we're good. All right, so seeing nobody stepping up to discuss or public comment on the final millage rates in the final budget, I'm going to close this public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting to now move on to the budget. So approval to adopt the 2024-2025 final millage rate. Superintendent recommendation?
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend that the school board approve the required local effort millage for fiscal year 2024-25 of 3.051 mils.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is everybody in Granicus, by the way?
I am, yeah.
Okay. I don't see anyone lit up for public comment. Obviously, this is something we've seen over and over again. Dr. Weissong, would you like to add anything?
Again, just thank you to the budget team for all the work to get us here, including getting us through the end of federal pandemic funding. There are districts all over the country that have struggled with this, and we are in excellent shape.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The whole team. All right, let's go ahead and vote on the motion to approve the required local effort millage for the fiscal year 24-25 of 3.051 mils. And that passes 5-0. Superintendent, your recommendation for the discretionary operating millage.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend that the school board approve the discretionary operating millage for fiscal year 2024-25 of 0.748 mils.
So moved.
A second.
A motion and a second. Again, this is something we've just discussed and had the presentation on. I see no board members lit up to speak. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the discretionary operating millage for the fiscal year 24-25 of 0.748 mils, and that passes 5-0. Superintendent, your recommendation for the additional operating millage?
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend that the school board approve additional operating voted levy millage for fiscal year 2024-25 of 1.0 mil.
So moved.
A second.
We got a motion and a second. Obviously, this is our 1 mil that we can actually determine, and the other ones are not. I do see a board member lit up to speak. Ms. Spray.
Just that we have workshopped this from, I'm guessing, back in April, all the way to now. This is just the final part of that process, and I just want to inform the public of that's what we're doing now, is the final end. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, no other board members lit up to speak, so let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the additional operating voted levy millage for the fiscal year 24-25 of 1 mil, and that passes 5-0. Superintendent, your recommendation for the local capital outlay millage.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend that the school board approve local capital outlay millage for fiscal year 2024-25 of 1.50 mils.
So moved.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. I don't see any board members lit up to speak. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the local capital outlay millage for fiscal year 24-25 of 1.5 mils. And that passes 5-0. Superintendent, your recommendation for the approval of the resolution 2024-008 adopting the fiscal year 24-25 total millage.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend that the school board approve resolution 2024-008 adopting the fiscal year 2024-25 total millage of 6.299 mils.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have our motion and our second on the floor. Again, thank you to Ms. Sellers, all your team, the budget team. Fantastic presentation. I know it's not easy, and I know in a couple of months you'll be doing it all over again. So we appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the resolution 2024-008 adopting the fiscal year 24-25 total millage of 6.299 mils. And that passes 5-0. And finally, Superintendent, your recommendation to adopt the fiscal year 24-25 final budget.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend that the school board approve resolution 2024-009 adopting the fiscal year 2024-25 final budget in the amount of $1,594,306,046.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. No board members lit up to speak. So let's go ahead and vote on our final approval of the budget, final budget for 24-25. And that passes 5-0. All right, thank you all very much. Everybody who participated in that. I know this is always kind of a big meeting to get the rates and the budget finalized, so thank you very much. That moves us to items number 13 under new business, non-consent items. Superintendent, item number 1.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the annual financial report and all official parts thereof for the fiscal year ended on June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I think we have a presentation on this, or any discussion from anybody at all? Comment on what we're voting on and
Right.
All right, so the annual financial report, this is submitted to the Department of Education in September. It will follow with a comprehensive annual financial report that we'll be bringing to the board also for approval, which will be the audited annual comprehensive financial report once this district or this board sees it. Let's see, as we had mentioned on the government-wide, at least the statement of net position, the net position for this district with all government activities at June 30, 2024, the net position was $974,084,554.
thank you.
All right.
Well done.
Board members, I don't see anyone lit up to speak, so let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the annual financial report and all official parts thereof, the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. And that passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Sellers. Appreciate that. Item number 13.2, Superintendent.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the budget amendments for June 2024.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Ms. Sellers, you want to go over those budget amendments? Thank you.
So one more time. Okay.
Your night.
Yeah, it is. This budget for June includes the year-end transactions. So last time I brought a budget amendments to the board, it was through May. So the June amendments, including the year-end adjustments, the chart strings that were over $1 million were 50 for this particular amendment group. There were 13 chart strings related to the general fund. This encompassed accounting or budgeting, amending for moving reserves for after the final payroll. It was also to move some chart strings related to the voted millage for the remaining fund balance in the specific programs like instruction, instruction staff, the ASME, STEAM, those kind of things, moving them over to the reserves for the next fiscal year, and also moving additional budget from the reserves to the programs related to the interest earned on those investments. Additionally, in the capital fund, there were 32 chart strings. All of these were mainly related due to moving project budgets from the 23-24 into the 24-25 fiscal year. In the special revenue, there was one. This was related to an amendment due to the IDEA K-12 grant. In food service, there were 2 chart strings. This was related to a transfer of funds from the food service cost center to Palmetto High School cost center for the purchase of some kitchen equipment. And then finally, there was the health insurance fund that had 2 chart strings. The one was the district transferring from the general fund of $5 million into that health insurance program for its solvency and to meet its reserve for section statute 112.01, and also recognition or amendment for expenditures related to prescription claims increases.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't see any board members up to speak. I know you did talk with this in our board briefing, so thank you very much. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the budget amendments for June 2024. And that is approved 5-0. Item number 13.3, Superintendent Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of a new job description and position of Teacher Assistant, Project Edge at Manatee Technical College.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Dr. Weissong, do you just want to explain this new job description?
Thank you, Chairman. Board members, this job description represents the last piece of the grant that Manatee received to implement Project Edge for the benefit of adult students with disabilities at Manatee Technical College. You've previously approved job descriptions for the program coordinator and instructor. The first cohort of students has been recruited and started in the program, and so we want to bring that teacher assistant on now to assist that cohort. The separate job description is because our current teacher assistant job description is focused on secondary education, so there's some slightly different requirements. The position is fully funded by the grant, and so there is no impact to the general fund. And as a reminder, at an upcoming workshop, we'll be bringing you a status update on the project implementation. I believe that will happen next month.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I don't see any board members lit up to speak, so let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the new job description position of teacher assistant for Project Edge at MTC. And that passes 5-0. Item number 13.4, Superintendent Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval to advertise a notice of intent to amend school board policies, including new board policies, and for setting a public hearing at the board meeting on October 22nd, 2024. The specific policies include 6110, 5120, 5120.01, 5120.02, and 5120.03.
So moved.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second, and board members, I know we workshopped this. We had some tweaks, had some things we want to change. That's why we're, same policies we're looking at, just pushing it back another meeting. So unless you want to add something to that, Dr. Whitesong?
Yeah, I'll just, summarize for the benefit of the public. Again, at the meeting on August 27th, you approved notice on a series of policies. We workshopped those on Friday, August 30th. Based on your feedback, board members, we revised this set of policies, and so we will withdraw them from final approval on 10/8. And instead, these will be workshopped with you on Friday, September 13th, and then put back on course for approval on October 22nd with a separate public hearing. 6110 is the grants policy, and so we clarified language related to the conditions under which the board would approve a grant versus my approval. And then 5120 and the three related policies are our student assignment and enrollment policies, and we updated one of the policies related to the residential attendance zone change process, again, based on your feedback. So that's why we're bringing these back now as a separate process. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board members, seeing no one lit up to comment, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the advertising notice of intent to amend school board policies and having a public hearing on October 22nd, 2024 meeting. And that is approved 5-0. Thank you, Superintendent, for your recommendations. Moving on to new business, no superintendent recommendation, number 14. 14.1, approval of travel expenses associated with the school board members' attendance at the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards meeting. That's actually the wrong date, but it's September
It is wrong.
22nd through the 25th through the 26th
I got the travel.
of 2024 at Zota Beach Resort, Longboat Key, not to exceed $12.50.
19th, yeah, September 19th.
No, that's the,
That's a chamber.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah, 26 and 27.
It actually says it in the executive summary. The 26th and 27th is just that typo
Correct.
where it says the.
Yep, it says it in the executive summary.
Yeah.
All right, so anyone want to motion that?
I'll motion.
Second.
All right, I don't see anyone. Oh, Ms. Tatum.
Just want to make sure with Ms. Cox, are all the expenses in there that we've talked about? Yep. Okay, then. That's all.
For all board members?
And from
Yeah.
board members that
Perfect.
would like to
Attend?
go. Okay, great then.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much. All right, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the travel expenses associated with school board members going to the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards. And that passes 5-0. All right, sticking with the consortium, item number 2, approval of the legislative priority list for the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards. Ms. Foreman, I know you passed this out to us from last time looking at the workshop. So I've got that in front of me.
okay, yeah, let me run through that. The, I did go back through and listen to what everybody had to say and the comments. Some of these are going to be, some of the priorities are going to be on the final priority list. For example, the base student allocation. They usually come up with it's let me read it for the public. Provide for an annual increase in the base student allocation commensurate with the rate of inflation and cost of living increases, but no less than 5% new funding to ensure school systems can meet the rising costs in every aspect of their business. The consortium will discuss it and whether the 5% is sufficient, especially in light of inflation and some of the unfunded mandates, such as security. So rather than put it on a form to go, I think it's going to end up on there, so I don't think we need to put that as one of our 5 priorities, even though it is a priority.
Sure.
But, yeah, okay.
Okay.
And let me see, the accountability, I did prepare one, and that would be, well, let's in order that they came out to you. The first one is the legislative action that districts are exempt from lawsuits brought against sponsored charter schools, and any payments to defend against such suits and payments in settlement shall be indemnified by the responsible charter school, and also the amount of sovereign immunity for school districts shall be reduced to 100,000. Yeah, well, I'm dreaming, but I don't know how Mr. Dye feels about this.
That'd be wonderful.
It'd be wonderful. Okay.
You might be dreaming though.
But at least to maintain the status quo would be nice,
Right.
not to increase it, right?
It would, but I ask for 100 and
That's-
get 2, you know.
It's
that-
fine,
that would be
whatever,
all
I'm
right.
okay
Yeah,
with it,
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, like, just maintaining the status quo would be good.
I don't want to capitulate early on, so, okay. So, if that's all right, and,
Fine with me.
okay, and then, let's see, the next one was the pre-K. And it's kind of a combination here, because there were 2 items on the consortium, but, state funding for universal full-day pre-K in public schools. I think there's talk about that in the legislature last year, about 4-year-olds being required to attend pre-K, and that would be funded, but then also expand the pre-K options for 3-year-olds. And again, you know, it's in the thing, you know, they ask for wraparound services and full day and funding for all of that, but
I'm good with that.
Fine with me.
that has always been a, okay.
Yep.
And then the next one, which is permit school districts to levy millage for a period of up to 12 years. I know we talked about 8, but hey, I went for 12.
Everything's a negotiation with you.
It is. It's wishful thinking or whatever.
And this is to revert from what they did.
No, it's been 4 years forever.
Did someone, was this already proposed at one point?
It was
maybe?
proposed last year, and it
To do
didn't.
8?
And it didn't get on the consortium.
It never
Didn't-
made the.
Oh, it never
didn't
made the
make-
final.
Didn't make the final.
Never
so
made the
I'm
final.
gonna try again.
Okay.
And that is, you know, just, Florida law requires a referendum be approved by voters every 4 years. As a result, school districts face uncertainty in budgeting. And statute requires a ballot initiative be approved by the voters during a presidential election year and will not exceed 4 years. So a period of 12 years will maintain that requirement while allowing districts an extended period of time to plan their budgets. So, you know, I think it's becoming more important than ever, but anyway, so I'll keep fighting for that one. Now, the next one, I know that Ms. Spray and I think Mr. Choate said you couldn't get excited about this one, which is the going back to the 2.0 levy. After our meeting, Mr. Rinaldi suggested that if we ask for the 2.0 and that because we've got security we have to pay for now, charter schools are getting a portion. I mean, they're chipping away. It used to be 2.0. They reduced it to 1.75 in the year 2008. Then they took it down the next year, 2009, to 1.5, and that was because of the
Recession, yeah.
recession. And so they've never put it back. And instead of keeping our 1.5, charter schools get a portion of it. And in that 1.5, we've got to pay for security that they are mandating and not funding. So, let me see, I put it down to restore the discretionary 2.0 mill levy for capital purposes such as school construction, maintenance needs, technology needs, security, and other critical capital asset needs. Specifically direct that the levy may be used for school safety. See House Bill 1473 in the 2024 session. So I know you guys didn't like it.
It's not that I don't like it, I think that they should provide capital over and above everything else too. I mean, unfunded mandates, they don't, just like Mr. Tatum talked about, all of our capital projects are funded locally by COPS. Our 1.5 mil and the half-cent sales tax. I think the state, I mean, I just was at an event and heard how much the state has in reserves, and my mind went directly to the BSA and capital. You know, we're relying on local total for capital, that's it, 100% is local. I think there's chatter that it might end up being capital might be a state-funded portion. That's wishful thinking, but I heard some rumblings about that in the past 2 events that I was at. So hopefully they're seeing that, you know, with all this influx of people, they might consider funding the schools with some capital money.
Depends on the district, because there are districts that are
right,
closing schools. You know,
right.
so,
Yeah.
So
I mean, they'll
how
have
do
to
you
look at it
allocate?
all. I'm not a big fan of this one. We'll let the consortium figure that out. But I'm more in line of, you've got all of this growth in the state. And if you look at page 28 of our budget book, the taxable non-exempt tax roll over the past, since 2019, has gone up 49.38%. So they're getting money. They need to share it. That's the way I feel, that the state should probably start giving districts capital funding. That's the way I think. I just think they should. They're improving, they improve our roads and all the other kind of things. And I see little posts all the time, the governor signed a bill for this project, that project. But just handing districts BSA, that doesn't help our capital, that doesn't help our transportation, and all of the security measures that we've had to do. So,
well, it also doesn't help our taxpayers, because the BSA comes out of the required local effort.
right, exactly, that's what I'm saying. I think they should.
If we're wanting more BSA to pay for these unfunded mandates, it's gonna raise the taxes.
I'm saying that they should legislate that they give districts capital money every year.
So you're just talking about grants, or, you know?
Flat out automatic, like we get, like PICO. I just think that they should go back to giving us.
Well, PICO is each project.
Right, I know.
You know, and
Right.
what, and getting it our request last year didn't go through. I mean, we didn't get it.
Right.
So,
I think they just need to rethink funding schools, school districts. I really believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I
don't necessarily
believe.
disagree. I think that's something that's been a long time. It's been a while. I think that I think you've got to take wins where you can get them. I think changing the entire funding for capital sources and capital projects for us and to ask the state to do it, I think is a large chunk. Like that's a huge ask. I do think asking the 2 instead of 1.5 is an easier ask. So you're going to get something. I do think though that you shouldn't be. So one of the things that we always have talked about in the greater consortium was, and we've all talked about this, is funding mandates. Like if you're going to give us a mandate, fund it. And I think that yes, if we raise it from 1.5 to 2, I think we could fund some of those mandates, but not all those mandates, because some don't fall under the capital outlay, obviously. So are we better off? And again, I'm going back to my own thing I just said, chipping away. I don't think us just asking, hey, can you fund all mandates? But again, look at the security. Like if we're able to say that we had to do, I know we budgeted 300, let's just say it's 150 times 67 counties had to do almost the exact same thing. Great. You want to make the schools this level of safety, and it's going to cost you, $12 million across the state. That's what you need to give us. And so now how do you word that? How do you do all that? I'm not the wordsmith, but I don't necessarily disagree chipping away at stuff. I don't think that they're going to go back to this. I mean, it's been since 2009 and they were always going to go back supposedly. So I don't necessarily think, but I do think that the reality is us asking just almost a blank check of whatever you mandate give us the fund for it. It's going to be different in every district. I think that's larger to chew than if we just specifically ask for 2.0. But I want to make sure that it goes to not just safety.
Well, the 2.0.
Well, you say critical capital needs.
Yeah, actually, I got the wording of all of that from the consortium. It was on last year's consortium.
Yep, I remember it.
Except safety wasn't in there.
Gotcha.
And so I added safety, and I think it makes it stronger.
I'm okay with.
And charter schools.
I'm okay with leaving it. I think it does do part of our point of, hey, let's fund mandates. I don't think it doesn't encapsulate all of them, but I think it does majority. Busing can be on there, all the security updates, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm okay with leaving it.
Are you okay with it being one of the 5?
Yeah, I want something funny. I want either this or I want fund mandates. So I mean, I think this again is probably a little bit easier to chew. Although all this does is just, again, puts it onto local taxpayers. So
It does, but that's where I have the problem. It puts it on the local, right.
So does funding mandate. If the wording from the consortium last year was fully fund any new mandates, which I don't know if that covers it either, because they've done so many mandates
Correct.
and not funded them. Fully fund any new mandates without transferring money from the base student allocation or discretionary local effort.
Yeah.
So they can say, okay, we're giving you a new security mandate, and we're not taking it out of BSA. Well, yeah, they are taking it. They don't think they're taking it out of BSA, but it's coming out of a BSA.
Right.
yeah, because no longer in a bucket, it's added to
yeah.
everything. So I mean, still goes off.
So, I mean, I'm sure that will stay, but I can do a sheet on that, just to put that on in there, to
Mr.
make
Tatum
sure.
had a comment.
Just to piggyback on what Ms. Spray said, I think the point she's trying to make, and I've thought about this too, is that there's this big surplus of money up there. What did they tell you, 7, 10 billion, what's the surplus?
It's a big billion.
It's somewhere in that $7,
Yeah.
$8 billion.
It's a big billion.
It's somewhere like right around
Yeah,
there.
and so what's happening is that that's tax money that the state is bringing in through whatever other tax, sales tax, whatever other taxes it has. So that money is just sitting somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, but then they want us to go to the taxpayers and say, hey, let's do another $500,000 for capital needs, and like you said, put that on the local taxpayers. And I'm I'm really not okay with that. If that, because you're double taxing people. You've already extracted all this tax money out through sales tax and all these other taxes, and it's sitting in a big fund somewhere. And then, but you go back to the local taxpayers and say, yeah, but we need another $500,000 for capital construction.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
Nobody wants to give up the kitty, and you know that money sits there, and it's also being, you know, somewhat invested, and so.
There's where I'm getting to. We've got those billions of dollars sitting at the state level. I think they should add to every district a line item that's capital. Just, this is what you're gonna get for you ask for it, of course, you know, but I just think we get our BSA every year. I think there should be not just a BSA, just here's your part we're gonna give you for capital.
Compromise, here's a compromise. What if we did that on our own? Like we bring that up on our own legislative priority, and for this one, we talk about the unfunded mandates.
Okay.
Capital unfunded mandates?
You could put capital unfunded mandates, sure.
But I mean, you want to rewrite that one, or you want to rewrite the, or add to the fully fund any new mandates?
I wouldn't.
I would like to add fully fund any new mandates.
Okay.
To the 5.
Operations or capital unfunded mandates.
And
correct?
Sure.
Would that cover
Well,
it?
do we want new mandates or just unfunded mandates?
Unfunded.
Talk about
Unfunded
transportation.
Right.
Talk about,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know,
ESE, I mean, all of it, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
operations
I would just say
and
unfunded
capital.
mandates.
So I will toss that one, and then I will add fully fund any unfunded mandates. Fully fund any unfunded.
Yeah, new and existing.
New and sustaining, that's a
New
good.
and existing.
New and existing, okay.
New and existing, thank you.
But I would put the words in operational, operation
In
slash capital.
in our
unfunded.
district legislative, we can talk about.
BSA and DLE is that's operation.
Right, I
So,
For
without.
the record, I don't think either one of these things are going to happen.
No, I agree, but
Like, I don't think they're gonna fully fund mandates. I don't think they're gonna let us do the 2 mil.
I
I don't
agree.
think they're gonna redo their thing because they haven't for the last, I don't know, couple decades. I don't think any of that's gonna happen, but I like that we're asking for all these things.
Sure.
Because at least we can put it in their face.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, if you ask for that, unfunded capital mandates, and
been
then,
asking for
then they
years.
send out, then they send out a mandate for operations, like what we have to pay
Been
for
asking for
security,
years.
right? So they would say, well, you didn't ask for the operations side, you don't ask for the capital side, so
But
that's
we'll
why I'm saying put the two
we'll
terms.
see what happens.
Okay, all right.
Maybe this is a lucky year.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
You never know.
If they give us something, who knows?
Well, you know, they talk about zero-based budgeting,
Mm-hmm.
and the least zero-based budgeting that I've ever seen goes on up in Tallahassee.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm
know, when I
asking.
found out how they allocate, how much, because they gave us an increase in transportation, but
Doesn't cover it all.
it doesn't cover it, because they start with what they gave last year, and they go, well, see, we raised you. And they do that on all of it.
But it's never covered from the beginning.
So, okay, all right, so I'm trashing that, okay? And then,
Last one I like.
this one, private schools accepting vouchers. Let me see here, amend Florida statute so that any school, public, charter, or private, receives taxpayer funding, required to have the same academic and
Yeah.
financial accountability. They did have that on there.
Another
but,
wish list.
So, the ones we're gonna, let me run through what I didn't cover. Accountability, BSA funding, new mandates, safety funding. A separate one on safety funding.
I would say.
I mean, I think that falls under the mandate one.
Yeah, well, they have,
But-
they have from last year, increase the state safe schools categorical allocation by at least 100 million to narrow the funding gap associated with the mandate to staff one safe school officer per school and ensure sustainable funding for school districts. And then they also had continue funding for school safety infrastructure enhancemants to schools.
I think whether we have that or not, that's going to go on there.
Yeah, it is, okay.
Because there's
all right.
that many schools that are dealing with that, I think it goes on there.
Okay.
Right.
all
I think they underestimated what that cost was gonna be.
Okay. And then, Ms. Messenger, your top three were the sovereign immunity, the mandates, and the BSA. And you also liked the school safety, pre-K, and the millage, every 8 years.
Yeah, I'm okay with all that you have here. And if we change it to the one that was suggested, I'm fine with that as well.
Okay, all right. I'll get that done and get it in.
Okay.
And,
Thank you for.
Y'all wanna vote on that, or no?
Hmm?
Do you actually wanna vote on it?
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote on, the recommendations for, that Ms. Foreman sent over for, and we just discussed on legislative priority for Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards.
So moved.
I'll second.
And thank you, Ms. Foreman, for doing all that work.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
It was great fun.
Mhm.
All right, let's go ahead and vote
Make your wish
on
list.
Mhm.
the approval. And that passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item number 3, approval to remove member from the CFOC, the Citizens Financial Committee Oversight Committee. We did receive the resignation from that member.
Right.
So I would like to ask the board if we can get a motion to approve the resignation
Right.
for the Citizens Financial Oversight Committee member that is wanting to resign. And I won't put names out there. We'll just
Yes,
leave it at that. So that's what I'm asking the motion.
right.
So moved.
It's stuck. She's working on us.
What we discussed, I'm sorry.
We all,
It looks like we're frozen. We can just do it verbally. So Mr. Tatum motioned it. Was there a second?
I was the no, I was not. Was you a mover? I'll be the second.
Okay, Ms. Bray's the second. So we'll just vote verbally and with our hands. All those in favor of accepting the resignation from the CFOC committee member, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, carries 5-0.
We're alive again.
There it is now.
There we go. We can plug it in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For that.
Absolutely. All right, item number 14.4, approval of the updates to the Citizens Financial Oversight Committee Charter. I know we made some updates. Thank you, Mr. Dye, for those. Last, I think we looked at them at the workshop. So I need.
I'll motion that those changes are.
Do we have a motion?
Right.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any other further discussion on anything?
No, chair on that committee reviewed those updates and she was comfortable with them.
Good.
Okay, while I was busy doing this, I neglected something, and that is the board needs to select who will be the
That's item number 6.
We're getting there.
Yes.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm better than I thought.
We put it on there.
Sorry, it's
No worries.
it's the short-term
It's the
memory is
birthday, it's the
going.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the approval of the updates of the Citizens Financial Oversight Committee Charter that we workshopped last week or 2 weeks ago. So let's go ahead and vote on that. And that passes 5-0. Likewise, item number 14.5, approval of the Audit Committee Charter. Again, workshopped that with, and Mr. Dye, thank you for making some of those recommendations along with Ms. Foreman.
Mhm.
So I just need a motion to approve the changes there.
So moved.
I'll second.
So a motion and a second on the approval of those audit committee charters. Obviously, we added having a CFOC member on the audit selection committee. So we'll get to that here in a minute. So let's go ahead. I don't see any board members lit up to discuss this item. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the audit committee charter recommendations that we discussed at the workshop. And that passes 5-0. Item number 14.6, Ms. Foreman, this is what you were talking about. Board discussion and selection of citizen financial oversight committee member to the audit selection committee to participate in that audit selector process and the RFP and RFQ that we do. So, what were your thoughts, Ms. Foreman? This is your idea.
No, I think we need to open it up for the board to make nominations to, of Citizen Financial Oversight Committee members to serve on the Auditor Selection Committee. And I'll defer first to Ms. Bray. Do you have recommendation?
I would probably recommend Miss Holly Johnson.
Okay,
If we could reach out to her to.
Can I say something real quick? Is this, and I guess it doesn't matter if you guys want to do this or not, is this something that I would love to be able to give the direction to CFOC to say, do you want, I feel like if we recommend, I'm not saying she's not going to want to do it, but if what if we recommend somebody, they don't want to do it, now it comes back to us on another board meeting that's recommend. So can we ask the CFOC to talk amongst themselves and determine, would anyone like to participate in this? And
Okay.
give us one?
We'll
and
let
then
them
we just,
make the recommendation. Is
boom,
that
it's
what you're
approved.
saying? You want them to make a recommendation?
I personally would feel that that would make I'm not saying she's not going to say yes or no, but it would make, they know their members more than I know their members.
Okay.
And who would like to be a part of it?
well, they're not gonna meet for a while yet.
Yeah.
I think the next meeting got canceled, so it'll be 3 months before they meet. So, and if Ms. Johnson is willing to do it, then we have our member, because I'm in agreement with Ms. Spray.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
And, so if it's gotta come back to us, we still have plenty of time before they meet again, but shoot, by then, it could be,
Right.
the auditor could
I
be
think-
selected
Right,
already
I
by
would
then.
say direct staff to send a letter of interest who wants to serve on that audit selection committee to the CFOC members to see if maybe Eric, I can't say his last name, might be interested as
Sure.
well.
Right, I don't, yeah. I'm
Because
not-
they're not gonna meet, so it's one of those.
Well, Ms. Johnson is probably the most qualified.
I agree.
She's done auditing, so, and worked for CPA firms. So, I mean, she would be ideal. So I would really like to vote on her this evening, and then if, contact her and she says, no, I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Because I also have the dates, where, what the schedule is gonna be. So I should have given her a call before tonight. Sorry, Ms. Johnson. Anyway, so I would like a vote on that motion, that she made the motion, I second it, and,
To
Yeah, we're still
Ms.
discussing.
Johnson.
Yeah, we're still
discussing, yeah.
Ms. Messenger had something.
I just had an idea. I know why you're suggesting her, and I'm fine with that. But perhaps in order to expedite the process, because I know that we need to get started on the process of going through selecting auditors, perhaps there is an alternate. Perhaps you nominate who you'd like, but then say, if that person's unwilling to, our alternate would be. And that way, it would allow the process to continue. Like if Paula says, I can't, the schedule doesn't work for me, you have somebody else already ready, that would be, the alternate to that, just ready to go, so that we can keep the process going prior to them having a meeting. Because I don't know how you'd handle it in an email.
Yeah.
But if you selected an alternate,
Okay.
just a thought.
I would ask Ms. Spray to,
I would probably select Eric as the alternate.
what's his name?
Eric Di Silvestro.
Yeah,
Di Silvestro, yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you accept that as a seconder?
Amend,
I'll amend the motion that we select Miss Holly Johnson to serve on the audit selection committee and have Eric DeSilvestro as an alternate.
And I will second that.
All right. We have our motion and our second.
Just waiting for a screen.
Oh, the motion.
Oh, I did the
You
motion, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know you're typing.
No,
No
it was
worries.
us. It was us, not
Mhm.
them.
And you just have to second, I guess. But I don't see it coming up.
No, I did the second.
My screen doesn't show anything, so,
Oh.
yeah. The screen's not capturing the motion in a second on mine.
Yeah, I think because she's was
Typing it.
plugging it in.
Okay.
Perfect.
There you go, perfect. That's great. Okay, now I can hit the motion, right?
I think now you should be able to hit the motion.
There
And then
we
now
go.
the second, Ms. Foreman. All right, and then we can go ahead and vote. All right, that passes 5-0.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Johnson.
Ms.
Call and tell.
Mr.
Absolutely.
Chair, before we leave the new business here,
Yep.
I looked up my little Robert's Rules of Order, and I would like to make a motion to reconsider new business, no superintendent recommendation, item number 1, which is the approval of travel expense. And the reason is I want to make sure that we have the right amount there. So it's just a motion to reconsider that and I have a piece of information that I need to discuss to make sure that we have the right amount there. So that would require somebody seconding my motion. to
second.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, second.
So now we can discuss it.
Yep, good.
So when I looked at the travel expense worksheet that's, tied with the agenda item, it says that the total expenses anticipated will be $1,613.10. But the amount that we said not to exceed is $1,250. So I just want to make sure that either I'm looking at it wrong or there's a disconnect between the two, and so
Sure.
I'm just
Oh, yeah.
Make sure the right number is in
making
there.
sure, so we don't have to come back and we can expend the money that we need to expend,
Good
so.
catch.
Sure.
Is that, and I don't know who could enlighten, maybe Ms. Cox could help us with that, or is that the right, am I looking at that right, Ms.
Number's
Cox? or-
correct. The worksheet has 16, 13, 10.
Okay.
Okay,
So we made that.
so then, I guess so then we're supposed to, I looked at my little Robert's rules, right, so now we have the motion to reconsider, so we approve that motion, and then I make a motion to amend,
Yep.
right, so.
So we'll just do this. We're gonna do this verbally. So you're gonna type it all in.
Right.
So all those in favor of the reconsideration of the item number 1, approval of travel expenses, not to exceed $1,250. Now will be. Well, I don't want to jump ahead.
Right.
So all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
So then
You're next.
I'll make a motion to amend new business 14, number 1, that the amount to not exceed should be, what is the correct amount that we want, Ms. Cox?
16, 13, 10.
16, 13, 10, yes, so that
Okay.
it be amended not to exceed $1,613.10.
Well, rather than,
And the date.
I mean, that's pretty specific,
Okay.
so.
50.
$2,000.
1650 or 1,700.
Okay, 1,700, okay, great.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So 1,700. That's a motion. Any second?
A second.
All right. We have a second. Any discussion?
Other than changing the date on that line item to,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Mhm.
I would add a friendly amendment to your motion, Mr. Tatum,
Okay.
to correct the date.
to 26 and 27 September.
Of September.
That's right. So I will accept your amendment that we amend the item to read 26 and 27 September and the amount not to exceed of $1,700.
I approve that.
All right.
Yeah.
No other discussion on that, I don't think. I think we're good. All right, let's go ahead and vote in favor of that motion recommendation. Raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0.
Well done, Tatum.
All right, thank you.
I earned my money today, so yeah, there you go.
All right, that moves us to our updates from our deputies. So instruction update first. Mr. Jensen, come on.
Good evening, Chair Cho, board members, Superintendent Weissong. Just a few instructional updates for you. First of all, we're currently in the middle of our state's first progress monitoring assessment for FAST and STAR. So for the last 2 weeks, our students have been focusing on completing the ELA assessment in those platforms. More than 40,000 of our students have completed those tests so far. This week, schools are shifting to the math assessments, and the students who've been absent can continue to make up the test through September 27th. As more districts around the state administer the assessment, we'll be able to share the baseline data with you, those PM1 baseline assessment results, at the 9/24 meeting. And just as a reminder for you and the public, this is a comprehensive test that tests everything that a student is expected to learn over the course of this school year at the beginning of the school year. So this is a test on things they haven't yet learned, but kind of provides us a baseline data point to then compare a mid-year and end-of-year data point. So when we look at this, this really sets a baseline considering the students haven't encountered that grade level content yet.
Ask a question there real quick. Yeah. So when learning gains are calculated for a school score, is it a learning gain from the previous school year, or is it like a learning gain from PM1 to PM3?
That's a great question. It's from
I only ask great questions. So.
PM3 to PM3, so it's last year's PM3 to this year's PM3.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And really, this, like I said, is a baseline for us, but schools do use this data. They compare it to prior years to check on cohorts of students, and teachers already start digging into the standards reports to start tailoring their instruction to students' needs that they identify early in the school year. So there is a lot of instructional utility to the assessment.
Great. Thanks.
As you know, Hispanic Heritage Month is September 15th to October 15th. Schools will be recognizing the impact of the Hispanic community on Florida during this month-long celebration, including required instruction topics. I believe we'll have some more information for the board at the meeting on 9/24 as well. Many schools will be holding events and celebrations to honor the Hispanic community, since nearly 40% of our students in the district are Hispanic. And as you know, tomorrow is 9/11 Heroes Day, an important day to recognize in our schools. Our students will be receiving instruction in their civics classes on topics involving the history and significance of tomorrow's date. And finally, as you're visiting schools regarding required instruction topics, you may see some new posters around campuses. FLDOE's provided us with these posters on state resiliency standards. Each school will display these posters so students, teachers, and parents are reminded of the standards, which include things like perseverance, gratitude, citizenship, responsibility, critical thinking, honesty, and more. And so these are those state resilience topics that are kind of folded into required instruction throughout the course of the school year. And in adult and career and technical education news, we have that team produced a FAFSA workshop that was held on Thursday, August 29th for our senior students and their parents at MTC. We had more than 160 people attend and receive information on completing the FAFSA. And then starting in October and throughout the fall, we're going to have FAFSA nights at each of the high schools planned by the college and career advisors through those high schools in collaboration with one another. We'll also have our post-secondary education night at MTC on Monday, September 23rd on the main campus from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's a great opportunity for parents and students to learn of all the different opportunities that are available to them after high school. We'll have representatives from colleges, universities, technical colleges, and financial aid and admissions information, including Bright Futures. With that.
Awesome.
Lots going on.
Thank you. Mr. Rinaldi.
Good evening. Going to give you a quick update on human resources. Our last job fair was held on Thursday, August 29th. We interviewed for bus drivers, bus aides, cafeteria managers, food service worker, HVAC technicians. We had 387 attendees. Job offers were made to 14 custodial, 19 food service, and 15 transportation, with all of those transportation being bus drivers. So we're moving forward, getting them certified and getting their CDL permits so that we can start training them. In addition, interviews have just been completed for one additional van driver, and we expect that van driver to be up and operational on Monday. An additional 2 van driver positions were recently allocated, so we're going to be posting them. This will allow us to utilize 2 existing vans that we have that are not ADA compatible, but we will this fall be ordering 2 additional ADA vans as well. So we're bringing our van fleet up and our van drivers up as well. Transportation unfortunately remains at 10 mechanics at this point right now, and with 3 lead mechanics and 7 mechanics. We have hired 2 since July, and we're continuing to advertise, and we do have 2 mechanics that we've outsourced as well in order to keep up with the workload there. The next job fair for operations is scheduled for Thursday, September 19th at Wakeland Center from 9 a.m. till noon, and the next para and teacher job fair is scheduled for September 26th, and that's going to be at Manatee College from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So that's a roundup on human resources. Our IT group, our site support services, they completed installation at Lakewood Ranch High Schools of 102 Promethean interactive boards. In addition, the team has trained over 100 plus teachers in the use of the new boards during the month of August. Up next is Southeast High School, and they're going to receive an additional 75 Promethean boards in September and October, along with associated training as well. The IT system, again, the business services, 186 new employees completed the 5 PeopleSoft courses that focused on employee self-service. The team supported 10 in-person new hire onboarding interviews or onboarding meetings during August in our school startup. In addition, 5 in-person PeopleSoft human resources training and financial module training for all new secretaries and bookkeepers. So they've been doing a lot of training. And food and nutrition services. They began the implementation of this year's USDA Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program at Manatee L, Daughtry L, Tillman Elementary School, and Samoset Elementary School. The students at these schools will receive fresh fruit or vegetable snacks every Tuesday and Thursday. Along with the staff, they receive nutritional education is provided, and they discuss the item's origin, how the plant grows, health benefits, and some other fun facts, including a joke. Each class was given a chart to graph their opinion of the day's snack, the day's vegetables, and a world map to track where the snack item originated from. The first snack was plums. The joke of the day was, how do you take care of a plum tree? No one?
No.
You prune it. And that's me for the day. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Tip your waiters and waitresses. Legal update, Mr. Dye, anything?
Thinking of the Riddler, you know. No, legal's been smooth sailing. Mr. Penley, I think, gets back tomorrow from a pre-planned vacation. I've been covering for him. I've been pushing out information to the board just as it comes up. I think things you'd be interested in. You'll contact me when you have questions. I think it's going smoothly, so.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Superintendent.
Thank you, Chairman. Board members, want to begin by thanking you for approving tonight's consent agenda. There were 28 items that allow us to move forward with operating the district. That includes approval to apply and accept $5.3 million in grant funding. These are state grants to focus on school improvement, and then also our requirements related to student mental health and training of staff on resilience. You also approved our contract with a new website provider, Aptigee. That will be phased in over the next several months. And it's a multi-year agreement that will result in a new website and some updated communication tools. And then finally, there were a number of student travel approvals on tonight's consent agenda, and probably most notably impacting quite a few students. Braden River High, Manatee High, and Palmetto High's junior ROTC Raider teams have been invited to national competition at Fort Knox next month. And that is a nationwide competition fully funded by the U.S. Army. So congratulations to those 3 schools and programs. Just a reminder to the public, this was discussed earlier in public comment, but we are seeking nominations from the public related to the naming of the East K-8 school that will open in August of 2025. The nomination window is open through Friday, September 27th at noon. There's more information on our website and on our social media accounts about how to submit a nomination. We will interact next as a group on Friday for a workshop. The first half of that workshop will be devoted to finance since we didn't have enough of that tonight. You'll be getting an update on our plan for COPS issuance to cover the cost of construction for the elementary sites at Artisan Lakes and Rye Ranch, and then you'll receive an annual investment report. We will then turn to a pretty significant sweeping update related to student enrollment, both current enrollment and plans for the future. You'll also receive a construction update, and then we will talk about the plans to get the North River middle grade site and the East K-8 site up and running and populated with students. So looking forward to that discussion and your feedback. And then finally, we will workshop the policies that you approved tonight for advertisement. So that's the plan for this Friday. Board members, I want to thank you all for joining me recently at the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance meeting for the updates from myself and Superintendent Connor from Sarasota. I think it was very powerful and sent a strong message to our business community that all 5 of you were in attendance, and it was great to provide a lot of good news and a lot of updates to that group. Majority of you were also present at Parish Community recently for Gettle Automotive's $25,000 donation to support the automotive program at Parish. That was the 3rd year that Gettle provided that funding, and we're very grateful for their financial support, which allows our very talented instructor, Mr. Ballard, to continue to invest in equipment and supplies beyond what taxpayer funds provide. And then finally, over the last 3 weeks, some of you have been at dedication and ribbon cutting ceremonies for the new fields at Lakewood Ranch High, Braden River High, and Southeast High. Exciting to have those fields in place now at 5 of the 7 high schools, with the other 2 projects underway in the spring. And then finally, board members, since our last meeting, I've had the privilege of visiting Lakewood Ranch High, King Middle, Horizons Academy, Buffalo Creek Middle, Palmasola Elementary, and this morning Ballard Elementary. Thank you for joining me on those visits when your schedules permit. We are deep into instruction, 20 days into this school year, and lots of great things happening in classrooms. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, for board comments tonight, we have Foreman, Messenger, Tatum, Spray, Choate. So, Ms. Foreman, kick us off.
Oh, thank you.
It is your birthday. after
Birthday
all.
girl goes first.
So I get to go first?
So you get to go first.
Yes.
Yeah, before I forget. Want to comment, the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance, the presentations were really interesting, really good, you know, and I will also comment that the Sarasota School Board sent 0 school board members, so.
Right.
So all 5 of ours were there, and Sarasota had none, so there. Also in the last couple of weeks, the audit committee met, and I think there will be an update from Mr. Daniel soon on that. The timeline, which is very short, you know, for the auditor selection committee, that's well underway, and thank you to Ms. Gruitt and her team for expediting that. And this past couple weeks, we had there was a shooting in Georgia, followed up by a one-person shot in a bathroom at another school, and then I just saw it hit my headline. There was another shooting today. I am incredibly grateful and commend our district for the Evolve system, which perhaps it could prevent that. I think it demonstrates that every school needs a lot of help in the mental health area to try and help these troubled kids. And also on social media, there was an article about the Georgia shooting where they had Centegics, and they were saying that because of that, they really felt that there were more deaths that were prevented because they clicked it, and they said actually there were so many people clicking it at the same time, you know, that they weren't real sure exactly where the shooter was, but they got there very quickly. And so I want the public to know that we have Centegics, and we purchased that I think maybe 3 years ago. It was very early on, and that was a great decision by our administration and our safety people. So I think we're doing what we can, and we're doing actually more than what's required. We always have. So it would be nice if for all of these extras that we're paying for, this is money that's not available in the classrooms. And it's another reason why we rely on our discretionary millage to be able to handle things. So I just want to get that out there. That thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Ms. Messenger.
In honor of your birthday, I will be short and sweet. I think this has been a really good meeting. I really appreciate everybody's time and effort in making it so successful. And I think we had a lot of really great discussion. And so I say thank you. That was it.
Mr. Tatum.
Okay, so I've been able to do a couple visits with the superintendent to our schools, and I've just been real impressed with what I guess would call the orderliness of the schools. Watching the kids transfer between classes, especially at high schools where you got, 1,500, 2,000 kids and they're moving between classes within like 5 minutes. I mean, it's better than a military operation, so it's very orderly, and especially with the new security requirements that we have, I'm just impressed with how that's going, so that's good to see. And then as far as my safety tip for the day, I'll pile on and echo what Ms. Foreman had to say, is that I have had some feedback from parents that are concerned about so there is some inconvenience getting into the schools with the new Evolve systems, and obviously there's some things we have to work out. It's gotten better. I know that these systems have had some software glitches. They're improving, they're learning. The people that run the systems are coming and fixing those issues. But overall, I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons based on, what we saw, unfortunately, up in Georgia over the last week. And, we actually did have some weapons in our school last year that we found, and luckily nothing ever came of those, but that's why we have these Evolve systems in place, is to hopefully keep those weapons out of our schools. And I asked in a meeting the other day, I said, well, let's say in 5 years we don't find any weapons in our schools, and we've spent, many millions of dollars on these Evolve systems, renting them and paying the guardians to be there to run them. What do we say about that? And then the answer was, well, they've done their job. I mean, that's what we want. We want a deterrent force, a deterrent factor. And I know to some people and certainly to parents, it seems like, well, we're moving towards this prison-ish type system for our schools. And it's unfortunate, but I remember after 9/11 in the military, within a year or two, locks were on doors, buildings that were normally open all had ciphers to get in. We had to have your little badge to get in. Unfortunately, this is the world that we're living in right now. And so the Evolve systems are a necessary evil, and I think we just saw why they need to be in place up in Georgia. So that's enough about that. And then the last thing is, I just wanted to read what the Constitution of the state of Florida says about public education on the night that we did approve taxes. And obviously, all of us as taxpayers would like to pay the minimum amount of taxes necessary, but we do have to fund the constitutional requirements that are in our Florida Constitution. So real quickly, just to remind ourselves, it says, the education of children is a fundamental value of the people of the state of Florida. It is therefore a paramount duty of the state to make adequate provision for the education of all children, right? All children residing within its borders. Adequate provision shall be made by law for a uniform, efficient, safe, secure, and high-quality system of free public schools that allow students to obtain a high-quality education, and for the establishment, maintenance, and operation of institutions of higher learning and other public education programs that the needs of the people may require. And then it also goes on and talks about some minimum class sizes too. So, I, of all people, would like to pay less taxes if I could, but I believe that the tax rates that we've set and the money that we're bringing in is what we need to do to meet our constitutional requirement here. And if you look at the counties around us too, there is some need to, I was thinking about this before the meeting. If let's say you lived in a neighborhood and everybody else decided to paint their house every couple of years, 5 years, and you never painted your house, well, eventually your house is not going to be a good house while everybody else is kind of doing the thing they need to do around you, right? So the school systems around us have these millages. We need this money to pay some of our employees to make sure that we maintain competitiveness with the districts around us. If we don't, our best employees will migrate over there in the capitalist system, and they're free to do that. So I'll probably stop there, but I thought it was important to mention on the night where we are, asking the taxpayers to pay taxes, that they understand that this is a constitutional requirement, and we are trying to make a efficient, safe, secure, and high-quality system of free public education in the state of Florida to meet our constitutional requirements. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Spray?
Not a whole lot. I toured Ballard today with the superintendent. It's always such a pleasure to see the kids in their study groups and the way they print, and they print different than I learned to print, that's for sure. But you can see the different levels of need in our schools. In one class in particular we went to, I could see, okay, there's a high need student. I could identify with one pretty quickly. But overall, they're such a home-based school that has a lot of different moving parts all the time, because it is a basically inner city school, a Title I, and I think the staff does a great job there. And I congratulated Principal Rudy, is it Keyser? Yeah, for getting the B Maintaining that is probably gonna be the challenge, but I think they can do that. They have a strong base there. And two, to echo what everyone said about the luncheon at Lakewood Ranch, I was proud to sit there with my superintendent and let him praise what we do. I was a little disappointed that no one from Sarasota came. I was actually shocked that none of them came. I mean, one or two at least, during a campaign cycle even should have been there, but, yeah, I was a little surprised by that. I do want to say that our front staff senior admin service manager, she is on our paperwork for retirement of 35.99 years.
Couldn't make it another month.
She couldn't make it another month, but I did want to do a shout out to her, although we did have her at the workshop or at the last meeting. And then we have Rhonda Stroff, that's retiring after 22 years as a phys ed teacher, so at Palmasola, actually. So there's, 17 years for Gloria Richards as a school secretary. That's a long time to be at one place. We know how we can see the turnover and bus drivers, teachers, and all of that, but we always should recognize those who do stick it out and stay with us. I'm looking forward to the chamber retreat. This will be my first time going to that. But I'm also really looking forward to the consortium event as well. Those are some really great minds in that group, and I listen to them intently. So just have to put that out there. But other than that, I can't, just like this shooting in Georgia, when you're a school board member and you hear and see that, it just breaks your heart. And my thought first, when that happened, I didn't even know it happened until I got home in the afternoon, was thank goodness we have the Evolve and the security systems in place here. Never say never, but I'm saying I feel pretty confident in our safety team and our the Evolve system and the Syntegics. It all costs money. It all costs money. And the behavioral side, I mean, even we can do all we can do, but it's a personal responsibility and a parent's responsibility to kind of thwart that, to where it gets that far. I mean, the school has so much lift in the community, to educate, bring kids learn how to hold a pencil and how to, classroom decorum and all of those things. And then to pile on, the mental health side. And, they're busy trying to teach kids to write. You may miss that little mental health spot, but then another teacher might catch it. It's just so complex, and I don't fault the school at all. There's really no fault there at all, but the shooter. It's sad that we're even in that state of affairs, but safety over secrets, I can't say that enough. I even spoke about that at an event I was at. I said I take pride in coining that phrase, and they kind of like, I kind of like that, so maybe they'll share it with their schools as well.
Copyright it.
So, yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's all I had. I just say thank you to the finance department. I know how tiresome that can be, looking at numbers when you go to sleep and you just see a calculator moving in your head. I've been there. Not to this level, but I know. So I want to say thank you, and I thank you for your patience with me when I do ask questions, because a lot of times people in the public say, oh, you don't do anything, you don't look at it, and I'm like, yeah, I do. I want to make sure that the public knows. What you do in public is one thing. They say, well, what you do in private's another. We need to know what you're doing. Well, come to the meeting. Doors are always open. Our books are always online. And the naming of the school, I encourage the mayor and the councilwoman to go online and do the official way of perhaps naming the school after that wonderful person, it sounds like. Follow the process, you never know. But other than that, I want to say thank you to the board. I appreciate working with all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to the staff, budget staff, everybody. Thank you very much, Dr. Wysong, and putting everything together. I know it's easy for us to get up here and do things, but these meetings happen for months and weeks in advance for the topic. So really appreciate you all very, very much.
Yep.
And I'll ditto to security. Paul D'Amico and his team do a phenomenal job. Our guardians, our SROs, everybody who's involved in the security. We're lucky to be where we're at, and with a daughter in the school, I appreciate that very much. And with that,
Danielle and Laura, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. They're
They're part of the team that makes this all happen.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys Friday for our workshop. We are adjourned.